Hello and welcome to the Master of Unlocking Game of the Year Extravaganza Part 76. Wait,
76?
I don't know. I think that's where we're at, right?
We've been reviewing video games since the 70s, I guess.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You guys didn't know this, right?
Our original winner of Pong.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Pong was our winner.
I preferred Custer's Revenge that year.
Okay. I know. Well,
it's my choice.
we'll see how that ends up falling out this year, but in our game of all time. But no, this is 2021 Game of the Year. We are recording this on January 4th, 2022. So this way we gave ourselves enough time to review some games and make sure that we played at least a decent amount of everything. But we our total list of games right now that between all of us we played is 55 this year. So congratulations,
Everything that we
us.
played in a significant.
True.
Yeah. I'm sure there's other stuff that we touched that we didn't put on here.
Yeah,
but
of things that came out in 2021, we have touched 55 games. So that is that's pretty solid. But as in tradition, we at least need to get this list down to our top 41 games of the year to start with.
Yep.
So we're gonna probably make some quick cuts here to some things. I don't even. Should we go through this list to start off with? And
Sure.
Yeah,
let's go like 10 at a time, maybe.
sure. Yeah. So let's go. We're starting in alphabetical order. This is definitely not in order of any significance other than alphabetical order. We have 12 minutes because it's a number. So, Artful Escape, Axiom Verge 2, Back 4 Blood, Battlefield 2042, Biomutant, Bowser's Fury, which was part of that Super Mario 3D World, but we're only counting Bowser's Fury as part of this. Boyfriend Dungeon, Call of Duty: Vanguard, and Cyber Shadow. So first 10 games or so there.
Yeah, I'm already seeing stuff we can cut, but
Cyber Shadow can go. Because I'm the only one that really enjoyed that. And
I
didn't finish
enjoyed
it.
that. Let's
Did
keep
you-
Let's keep
that,
it.
Yeah, that
Really?
one.
Yeah.
You think that makes the 41?
I think
Yeah.
there's 14 other games on here that suck.
Axiom Verge.
Oh, okay. yeah.
Axiom Verge 2.
Wrong
played,
lens. Hold
yeah.
on. Let me put on the sucks lens. Or
Yeah.
the not interested lens, maybe.
Yeah.
I played Axiom Verge 2 for maybe an hour, so
Okay.
that goes.
All right. There we go. Goodbye, Axiom Verge 2. I never played Axiom Verge 1, so I think I'm okay there.
All right, our next group of
All
games:
right,
Dark Pictures Anthology, House of Ashes, Death's Door, Deathloop, Fantasian, Far Cry 6, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, Final Fantasy 7 Intermission, Forza Horizon 5, Greek Memories of Azure, Halo Infinite. I think that's 10.
Get rid of Greek Memories of Azure. I played that game for an hour and a half and immediately regretted it.
We can get rid of Pixel Remaster too. That's almost kind of cheating anyway.
Okay,
That was
that's fair.
I do want to
remaster,
play
so-
that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll
Leave it
probably-
on the list.
I'll play 4 at some point, probably.
Because I think I used our last year in January, I used our Toady and Goaty lists to do things in January.
Yeah.
Besides play Mortal Kombat,
There's
which
not
I'm
a lot.
totally going to play Mortal Kombat.
January looks. We can look at it later, maybe, but January's rough this year.
Quiet.
So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. That's good.
All right. Jason, you
All
want to go
right.
next time?
Here we go. Hitman 3, Inscription, It Takes Two, Jurassic World Evolution 2, Kenna Bridge of Spirits, Knockout City, Life is Strange, True Colors, Little Nightmares 2, Mario Golf, Super Rush, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and Medium. Not Go, Medium.
Go.
Just Medium.
No.
Just
Okay.
Medium.
I think you can get rid of Mario Golf Super Rush.
Okay.
Okay.
It looked like both. I didn't play Medium. It looks like both of you guys stopped it.
I'm okay with it leaving now.
I can leave now.
Yeah.
It's fine. I think I played 2 or 3 hours of it.
Let's say goodbye. No. How do I do this?
What?
The Medium just jumped off. How did we do go Medium with leaving the list?
What?
I'm trying to form a sentence that includes the words
wait.
go Medium.
All right, it's time for
So
Medium
it's time
to
to
leave.
go medium.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. There. That's what I was searching for. It's
There we
too
go.
early.
It
It
really
is.
is. Yeah.
This whole 9 in the morning thing. What are we doing?
Too much.
All right. Okay. So
Knockout City, do you want to
Yeah, that can probably go. I
Can
think
we
I played
knock
that
out
for-
Knockout City?
There you
There,
go.
that's
Now
There-
you're on
see,
it.
now you're on it. There you
Well
go. I think that works. Okay, so let's go. Metroid Dread, MLB The Show 22, NBA 2K 22, Outriders, Persona 5 Strikers. Going to our Pokemon segment. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Unite, Psychonauts 2, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
We can, well, we probably piss off some people on the internet if we did this, but I feel like we need to
What?
take off Metroid Dread. Neither of us liked it.
I think I'm okay with that. I mean, I at least gave it more of a shot than some of these other games, but I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. If I
I mean, it's a lot of outlets, game of the year, so it's just not for us.
It's just
I
it's just not. Nope.
Maybe I'll try that in 2022.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
then we can either legitimize our take on that or
Mhm.
see if I line up with other people. Maybe I'll check that out.
Mhm. All right.
Is there anything else here? Outriders? Do you guys want to?
Outriders can go.
Outriders can go.
I like Outriders, for the record. I just don't.
Well, are there other? Is there?
Well,
other
okay,
stuff
there
that
is
we
a
need
game
to-
on the list that I like, so maybe. I
Yeah,
mean, I
let's keep it
it's
for
not a contender.
now.
Keep it for now.
We
Okay.
might need to cut it to get down to 41, but
That's
Mhm.
fine.
where did we leave off? Resident Evil.
Yep.
Okay, Resident Evil Village, Returnal, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Space Jam: A New Legacy of the Game, Splitgate, Superliminal, The Ascent, Forgotten City. I'm just gonna run through the rest if that's all right.
That's fine.
The Good Life, Tormented Souls, Unpacking, WarioWare Get It Together, and World Ends Club.
You can get rid of WarioWare, get it together. I don't really have anything
Nobody
to say
likes
about
that. I mean, not just you. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah,
seems
it
to
was
like it.
bad.
Yeah.
Shin Megami Tensei, I just didn't have enough time to play much of that at all. So
Is that
I'm
a
okay with
Switch
that.
game?
Yeah,
Only Switch?
Yeah.
How many hours?
like it looks like 75 to 80, something like that for main story.
Bajillion?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So I played like half an hour, and then I saw that, and I'm like, I'm not gonna make any progress in that before we talk.
Is there a
so-
chance I like that?
I don't know. It's like maybe if you really liked the combat system of Persona, but it does not have any of the social stuff, and the characters aren't
As
nearly what they
interesting.
are. So,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
is the part that I think we like about Persona.
Yes.
So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I want to give it more of a shot. I just didn't have enough of a chance to do it before we talked. So
This might be a little bit harder to get down to 41 than we thought. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking Space Jam, right?
yeah, Space
Yeah,
Jam needs
Space
to
Jam
go.
should
That game
go.
sucks.
I think I only played about an hour and a half of Superliminal, so I think you can take that off.
I don't even know what that is.
That's that forced perspective puzzle game. It's so think of like the Missing, but like to solve the puzzles, everything is like you have to look at stuff a different way. So like, and you can like make things grow and shrink based on how you like kind of look at
The
it.
Witness or The Missing?
Sorry, the miss.
The Witness.
I
That's
find out
so
3
you did that
times.
on a podcast. That's
I-
the only reason it clicked with me is I was like, wait,
Not
no,
The Missing.
not the missing,
Not The
right?
Missing.
Not
I don't know
JJ Macfield
Field
or
and-
whatever.
yeah.
The Witness. Sorry.
The Witness.
Okay.
Tormented Souls.
Yeah.
Tormented Souls was bad. It was a bad game.
I still want to give that a shot at some point.
You should
but-
play it just to experience it.
Yeah. And there was something else I just saw. Oh, The Good Life. I barely played that.
Okay.
Oh, again, it's another game that I want to.
I want to play that.
Yeah,
That's
it's on Game Pass.
relaxing,
So
Trying to look and just see if there was anything else
I
that.
want to play Lake for the same reasons.
yeah. Although Lake didn't get great reviews.
It didn't.
So
Okay. All right.
All right, we're almost down to. We're down to one more game. We just got to cut one more bad game.
Oh right, because we have I always forget about our header rows.
Yeah, our header row counts. Yeah, so you gotta.
Scarlet Nexus.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Why not?
Another game that I've heard really good things about, but seems like a 50-hour game, so it's just not gonna happen.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it was just too repetitive for me. It just there was the combat wasn't
Yeah.
really anything that great.
That and
so.
Tales of Arise. I've heard
Hmm.
really good things about both of those games, but I look at the hour count and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't think Scarlet Nexus is too bad hour
Really?
wise. I
Okay.
thought it was only like 15 hours or something like that.
Well, but
somehow-
there's two to get the. I think I saw that to get
Oh,
the
to get the
true
true
ending, you have to
ending.
do both characters, which is
nobody wants to do that. Okay, so,
So do we want to go over the list of our top 41? Is that how we should do this? Like, once again, re-emphasize the 41 games, or should we just go? I don't care.
Just go. We already listed them.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have
I'm
listed
okay
all
with
the
that.
games.
I've got my my Agent 47 sniper. What do you call that? Sight. What do you call the little dot?
Oh, your
Just
red
the
dot.
red dot.
Just
Just
the
red dot.
yeah.
I got it
Yeah.
on a game here.
Okay, because
Okay.
I think
I'm
that's
ready-
how we'll
I'm ready to
round
it.
robin this. We'll each cut a game, give it its due.
I'm ready to assassinate a game.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
let's-
need its due.
Okay. Oh,
12
that-
minutes needs to leave this list.
Yeah, I agree. I
Okay.
agree 100%.
It
Yes.
needs to be shot.
Maybe like
Shot again.
so again. I always go back to the opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference.
Mhm.
When you hate a game, it's because it's close to something that you're going to love, and I hate 12 minutes.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's like right there that it just can't get out of its
Yep.
own way.
Yep.
Uh-huh. 12 minutes,
Man.
goodbye. And we've talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah.
Why?
It just had everything going for it, and then it just didn't.
The style is cool. The idea is cool. The execution
Mm.
is poor.
It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that we all agree on that.
Mm.
All right.
At first one, because I think I was the first one to play that game, and I'm like, oh no, am I gonna hate this, and everybody else is gonna love it?
Oh no.
So I'm glad.
But I had to get to the point where you guys were before I actually. I mean, it
Yeah.
reveals itself at the end, and you're like,
And the end, oh my god,
Oh,
the
man.
ending is maybe the worst ending of any game I've ever played. It just pissed me off.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Life is Strange. Two colors. Just it only had two colors. That was the problem
back
with
to
it
back.
the whole time.
okay, we'll do this tomorrow.
Okay. Life is Strange, True Colors. I am a Life is Strange apologist for the most part, but this game just didn't do it for me. I was not interested in the characters at all. I thought it was pretty corny, to be honest with you, and I think it was just everything was like almost forced in a bad way. So,
And on your recommendation, I did not play it. So
right, I would go back and play last year's Life is Strange, the one with the twins. That one was actually pretty good. This one, not so much. So,
cool.
I'm just glad that they at least updated the engine so it doesn't look like shit anymore.
Yeah. Did you already take that off?
Oh, I did not. Sorry.
What game you going after, Caleb?
I am going after Jurassic World Evolution 2. I wanted to really like that, but they added a campaign mode that's really stupid, and it's just
You like the
not
first one more?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Is the first one a Game Pass? It is, right?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another like potential January thing for me because I would like to play that.
Yeah. That first one was pretty cool, and you would hope that they would build on that one, and they didn't. They took
Bummer.
a lot of steps in the wrong direction with that.
All
Give some
right.
background to Jason.
The show can go. MLB The Show. I really like it. Looks nice. There's not a huge visual difference between this generation and previous generation and now the Series X and PS5. I left it on here because I wanted to just re-emphasize that it was on Game Pass, a Sony first-party developed game on Game Pass, which was how I played it, and I enjoyed my time with it, and then I was done with it. So, yeah, it's still very good. For being the only baseball game, at least wise, it hasn't gotten terrible.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go with Dark Pictures Anthology House of Ashes. I think I played this recently. It is probably, in my mind, the worst of the three games. Looks nice. They did some stuff there to make it look a little better, but just didn't really care for the story. Gameplay was a lot of the like quick time event triggers never felt like they were right on. Like I felt like I was constantly missing them, even though I was clearly hitting them. So I think there was just some bad problems with that game. Just story and mechanics just didn't quite click.
Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is going to leave the list. It's a remake, and it's not a very good one. Well, I guess it's fine if you really have a lot of nostalgia for those games, but I don't.
Mm.
That's like the one generation I never really played as a kid. So for me, I was going into it, and it just seems like an old game with new graphics. So it leaves.
Okay.
I guess it's probably time for the Ascent to go.
I didn't play that, so
Sure.
it's up
Yeah.
to you guys.
We both played it and like it okay. We just
It was I didn't like it enough to go back to it
Right.
after I think it may be 3 hours or so in of it. It looks nice. I will give it that for that style of 2D/3D platformer. Like it's got a better look. It's got a better cyberpunk look than Cyberpunk.
yeah, I think it looks nice and it sounds nice. The music's cool
Yeah,
too.
very
It
much.
nails the aesthetic pretty well.
Mhm.
And in a lighter year, or if it doesn't come out around a bunch of other games, I'd probably play more of that.
Yeah. And if it hadn't been a Game Pass game, I may or may not have touched it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're back to me, aren't we? Oh, I wasn't prepared for this. Artful Escape.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that game more than you, but it's
Yeah.
not gonna, make our top 10.
Yeah, I think it just didn't quite do it for me. It was a little too repetitive, and the story was just okay. Got a little weird.
Is it me or you, Caleb?
I think it's you.
Yeah,
Oh no,
me.
it's me.
No, yeah,
It's
we
you, right?
yeah. Jason just cut
Oh,
the show,
right,
and then
okay.
I cut. Yeah.
Let's cut. Jason, you changed my scroll.
I did. I apologize.
It keeps throwing me off. Speaking of, maybe I'm just the Kingslayer today.
Okay.
I want to cut Returnal.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Come at me, internet. I cut Metroid Dread. I cut Returnal.
Hey, no, we're agreeing with you. So no, that's perfectly fine. That game needs a difficulty slider or something because
Or just something permanent. Just
Yeah.
any little thing in there that I can say, okay, at least I made some progress that run.
Yep. Yep.
Even if it was tiny.
I somehow got worse at it. Like you'd think that it
Yeah.
would like I felt like it got harder.
And the frustrating part is I have heard there's some really cool stuff with that story. Like, do you guys know what happens in the story at
Yeah,
all?
I've heard some
No.
stuff about it. Yeah.
The biggest thing I heard was that at one point you actually break out of that loop and you go back to Earth or home or whatever, and you literally live an entire, like, it shows her living her entire life out, and then she dies of old age, dies, and then starts the loop again.
Whoa.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I guess we should clarify. We are spoiling everything.
Yeah,
here,
we're spoiling
so-
a lot of games here. Yeah,
Yep.
that's for sure.
I wish this is much like the difficult game of the year for me, where I wish I had time to ram my
Yeah.
head against the wall,
Mhm.
and I just didn't. Recently they patched in the ability to save your progress, not save to the point where you can
Like
what do you call that? Save scum
Yeah.
save scum a run. You
You
can't do
could
that.
save state essentially just to like, hey, I don't have 2 hours for this run. Like I have 30 minutes. Like I think that was the thing that they made.
That's what made me drop it. And then by the time that update was made, and I just was on to other things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kingslayer.
Alright.
Well done. I'm going to say now is the time to get rid of Cyber Shadow.
That's fair.
That's a cool game. I like that game. It's too hard for me.
I agree with that. I kept making incremental progress in that. Unlike a roguelike, I was getting to new areas, but eventually I just ran out of steam, started playing other stuff, and then going back to it is tough. It's a tough one to go back to. I tried once or twice, and I was like, oh boy, this is harder because I haven't played it in a while. So, goodbye, Cyber Shadow.
All right. All right,
It's getting tougher.
It's getting tougher, but at the same time, I got a lot of. I still feel like I've got
Yeah.
2 or 3 things I can easily cut here. Like, let's go with. Let's cut Call of Duty Vanguard.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that was.
It's
just,
not a great Call of Duty.
No, it's not a great Call of Duty at all, and yeah, it's definitely in that lower third tier of Call of Duties.
Yeah.
And
I didn't play that one on your recommendation.
it's just not worth your time.
So
Yeah.
I decided, well, this will be the first Call of Duty maybe in
Did you play
ever.
World War II?
yeah.
I never played that one either.
I've played all of them,
Mm.
and this is the first one I haven't played.
Yeah, you're not missing anything.
Yeah, I thought if anything I might be missing some graphics. That's pretty much it.
There's some spots. It's got its spots, but then it's also got spots where it doesn't look that great either.
Okay, all right. Carry on to Caleb. Caleb, yeah.
I'm gonna cut World Ends Club. That's very hard to say, by the way. World Ends Club. There are things that I like about that game a lot. The story didn't go in places that I thought were super interesting, and that's what you kind of need in a visual novel. So that can go.
Okay.
Mhm.
Outriders.
Yeah,
I'm the one who liked that the most.
I'm good with
and
it going. Yeah.
Just too many other things to play, but Outriders is good. I think that this is the first game I've offered to cut up besides Cyber Shadow that I think it's good.
I
It's just
think
not gonna hang.
that game came out at a really good time for people too, because there wasn't a whole lot out, and it's a loot game, right? So I think that consumed a lot of people's time this year, but I don't think it hit any of us in the way it hit some of the mainstream. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know how, but I forgot to cut Battlefield 2042.
oh, okay.
That game sucks balls. It sucks for a lot of balls, and I'm glad I think a lot of other people think it does too. So fix that.
I don't know if it was a real picture or not, but I did see that somebody posted a picture of a GameStop label on Battlefield that was $4.99.
Oh my god!
And that game came out like a month ago.
You can't.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
What?
I would not surprise me. Nobody's playing that game. It came out, then Halo dropped, and everybody was like, "Well, Battlefield sucks ass." And I mean, I think the term I heard on a podcast, somebody said, "Time to fun is just too long." Like the time to fun in that game is like 2 to 3 minutes sometimes, and that's
okay.
between deaths.
Okay. Wow. Whoa. Okay.
I think we're at a point now where we start cutting things we actually liked.
Yep, I think so.
I've been doing that.
Yeah.
This
This is me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Of the things on this list, I think the weakest one is Biomutant. That game has some really cool ideas. It didn't have the. It had too many systems going on for any one of them to be great.
Okay.
And it also didn't have that AAA polish that it needed. It's definitely a AA game, which is fine. It was good for that, but it's not gonna compete with. I liked this game a lot, but it's not gonna compete with some of the other stuff on this list.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I might have gone out of order. I'm sorry.
No, I think you were right. I cut Battlefield last, so I think that was it.
2K can go.
Okay.
I really like 2K. I played a lot of it this year, but it can go.
I did not play this year's. Is any much different than last year?
Yeah, it plays different for sure. I think it's improved, and the online is better as 2Ks obviously as they go across a generation. Usually the online is rough for the first few years, but the online works really well.
I'm gonna go ahead and pull out Splitgate. I think that game it filled a Halo void for a while, and then Halo came out, so then I don't need that anymore. So thank you, Splitgate, for a couple months of stopgap.
It got pretty big there for a while.
It did, and then I think it dropped off hard.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was fun. That's for sure. I liked the portal mechanic of it and everything else. I could easily see like Halo throwing in something similar to that, like 2 years from now, and just being like, oh hey, remember, and like they'll throw it
They
in.
already have portals, right?
They have
So-
portal, but you can't create
Yeah,
portals.
you can't, yeah.
You can't create your own portals. So it was fun, but the thing is I haven't touched it in probably 3 or 4 months now. So, but I played it a lot for a while when it started.
I just noticed a game that I was just glancing over. Apparently, Far Cry 6 needs to just be deleted from this list. I think it's a bad Far Cry. I still kind of want to play more of it just because there's stuff on a map I can collect.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's good.
All right, Jason, I think it's up to you here.
If you don't have any, if there's nothing left that you
Want-
really want to offer over, then we can actually start talking about some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look and make sure.
Because we're down to what, 23?
23 games we're down to.
Oh, how about Back for Blood? I think we all kind of thought that game was decent, but
I don't
It's-
think it makes a top 10.
It doesn't make a top 10, but yeah, I mean, I didn't dislike my time with it.
right.
So, I mean, it's not. I think there's still other games I would cut before this, but it's not. We're not in that point. I mean, we can just cut at this point.
Right.
So, I think that game did some fun stuff. I don't know if I'll ever go back to it or not.
I think it says a lot that unanimously, after our last session playing that game, we were all kind of just like, yeah, maybe that's the last time we play that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can ever bring myself to come back to it. There was nothing compelling from a story standpoint to bring me back.
Yeah.
So, it would just be more of that.
I didn't particularly enjoy the card system either, to be honest.
No, I think there were sometimes too many cards thrown in.
Yeah.
And it was just, yeah.
What else needs to go? Oh,
I think we could probably cut Little Nightmares
I
too.
was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
I think that game has some really bad moments. I think
Yeah.
for the most part it's good, but I think it has some really rough sections.
Agreed. Yeah, I think there's some cool parts, but yeah, there's exact like there's games where there's bad parts in it and then the good outweighs it.
Yeah.
This is probably medium. Like not go medium.
Go
but,
medium.
But yeah.
What else can Fantasian can go? I think the game was cool. I enjoyed playing it while I was watching stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's an
a good
iOS
phone game.
game, so it's really easy to play for short stretches, but it does not compete with some of this other stuff.
Unpacking. Did you ever check this out, Caleb?
I love unpacking.
Okay.
Absolutely love unpacking.
Okay.
That needs to stay.
Okay, that can stay for a little bit. Jeez, I didn't know you were there. All right. What about Pokemon Unite?
Yeah, that could probably go. I would rather cut Pokemon Snap first.
Okay, we'll cut Pokemon Snap first.
I think Pokemon Snap is awesome. There's so much to do in that game. There's an incredible amount of content in that game, but it's you're taking pictures of Pokemon. I mean, how does that compete with?
I mean, I can't compete with that. I really can't, unless I was going to a Blockbuster to trade in said pictures of Pokemon on my memory card. I don't know. That would be the only thing I could do better.
So you mentioned unpacking, and I didn't know that you had played it.
Yeah. Well, I started playing it, and then my kids took over.
Okay.
And they were just like, and so I kind of just sat there with them and watched them play it because they really enjoyed it.
I think the really cool part about unpacking is you see the whole story of this person's life. Yeah. Do you know the concept of this, Jason?
Yeah,
Okay.
I played a little bit of it.
Okay.
Here.
And by the end of it, I was like, that was really well done. It was an interesting way to see the story of a person all laid out. But it at the end of the day, though, it is just kind of like you take stuff out of boxes and you put it on shelves.
Right. That was kind of
So, I mean, I love that game, and I think it made the top 20 here, which I think is an achievement.
I think that's fair.
So
Yeah.
I think it can probably go from here. It's probably one of the weaker things on this list. It's not going to make it through 10 more.
No,
So,
it wouldn't.
I didn't want to cut it before we're at the point now where I feel like we need to cut things after. We need to rank
Yeah.
things as we cut them.
Yeah.
I think
So-
I think this if you put this on my daughter's list, this would be top 5 probably
Yeah.
easy. But yeah, I'll have to ask her what her top 5 games of the year are this year.
It's also a really, really easy 1,000 achievement points if you guys are still into achievements at all.
I don't even.
I didn't look.
I mean, I think she got them all. I just don't remember. I didn't look to see what my final score was.
The hardest one is, and this is not even hard, but it's you have to flush the toilet in every apartment.
Oh, really?
So you do have to go back into each
Oh,
unpacked
no.
apartment and flush the toilet and then leave.
but it's
and then
not
go back in.
missable technically.
It's not missable. No.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I'll have to pull. I'm gonna pull
It's
up
the
my
only
thing
one that
and see what she
requires
got.
you to like jump back and forth, though. Other than that, it's just like you do pretty much everything.
What about Ratchet and Clank? As we look at this list
Yeah.
overall, I'm thinking about what we all liked, and Logan did not enjoy Ratchet as much as I did, and you enjoyed it more than I did.
And I'll tell you right now, it still didn't make my top 10 personally.
Okay, then.
So if I liked it the most and it didn't make my personal top 10, then I think that game is awesome. It looks incredible.
It's a pretty game.
I don't think the Rift mechanic really lives up to, everyone was saying like this is the next gen thing. This is the thing that's going to change everything. And I don't think it did. I think it's pretty and I think it's fun sometimes, but I don't think it's a game changer.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
So
I agree with that.
I didn't dislike it. I just got bored with it. I felt like it was a little too repetitive.
yeah,
And I was just like,
this
okay.
story is pretty cyclical. It's
Mhm.
like, we need this thing. We got this thing. One of the bad guys stole it from us. We got to go get it back. And that happens like 3 times. Then that's the
Yeah.
end of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, top 20 I think is exactly where it deserves to be.
Sure. Whew. Okay, what else are we cutting here?
Did you ever check out Kana?
No, I haven't had a chance to
Okay.
yet.
I
literally have it. I just haven't touched it yet because I've been trying to finish other games.
Yeah, this is. I think top 20 is where it needs to be too. It's another one of those very good AA games, but I don't think it's. I'm looking at the rest of the stuff on this list, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that goes.
Is it time for Pokemon Unite to go now?
Yeah, it's probably time for Pokemon
Okay.
Unite to go. I think that's another game that came out. It came out in July. And
Yeah.
July is always a barren wasteland, so it consumed some time for me. That's for sure. There's typically one multiplayer game a year that I get into, and that was this
it.
year's.
That was this year's multiplayer game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we at least are at the point where we believe that some of these games, because we made slides for
Yeah.
some of these games, would have maybe made our top 10, each of our personal top 10s. So we were down to the top 15 games. Let's just rattle off the top 15 here.
Okay.
So we were down to Bowser's Fury, Boyfriend Dungeon, Death's Door, Deathloop, Final Fantasy VII Intermission, Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, Hitman 3, Inscription, It Takes Two, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Persona 5 Strikers, Psychonauts 2, Resident Evil Village, and The Forgotten City. So yeah, we're down to 15. So
Forgotten City can go.
Okay.
I love that game's story. But somebody told me, I didn't know this, but apparently it started out as a mod for Skyrim.
Skyrim mod.
I
Yep.
didn't know that.
Yep.
But that explains a lot on the way it looks and feels,
Yeah.
which is a little bit lacking. So
You told me I wouldn't like it, so I didn't play.
yeah, no, you would hate it.
If there's a lot of
There's a lot of talking
and a lot of trees, a lot of
dialogue trees.
Dialogue
and
trees. Nope.
Almost literally no action in that game. So
Okay. Dialogue trees almost automatically turned me off for the most part.
No, there is some action. I take that back. There is a little bit, but it's not good.
The good action.
That's not the part you play that game for.
Got it. Okay. What do you think about taking off Forza Horizon 5?
I think that's think that's next on this list.
It's a very good looking Forza.
It almost snuck into that 10 spot for me.
Me too.
I just couldn't do it.
I couldn't get it there either. That I think that is it's done this a lot of years. Forza Horizon does
Yeah.
that. It's like it's so close to a top 10, but you just look at it and go, it's just a driving game.
Right.
It's a really good driving game, and it always looks nice.
I think the biggest downfall for me with that game is as you're playing through, if you're trying to get to the Hall of Fame, which is what I did, there are like 4 or 5 races that you have to do that start on top of a mountain, and you have to just drive up there every time. And it's just like, I don't want to drive for like 5 minutes just to get to an event. Can I just start that event?
Yeah. My kids have gotten a lot of mileage out of that game,
Yeah.
and so have yours.
Yes.
And
Yes.
maybe there's a fast travel board up there that I missed or something.
There is
but
a fast travel system, but yeah, like I said,
It's not-
it's
and you
not
have to
great.
spend credits to fast
Right.
travel, which is like, I could just drive there and save the credits. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it was so close. I think this is the best Forza Horizon, I think.
Some would say, yeah.
I mean,
Mm-hmm. All right, we are down to top 13.
How about Persona, Caleb?
no.
Okay. That answers that question.
Maybe. Okay, so I think. Well, I'm going to type in that, Jason, you finished Inscription.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
now I'm
sorry.
looking at like the things that we
people finished and
finished.
did.
Logan,
and-
you finished Halo?
Yes. Sorry, I did not update that from a couple of days ago.
Is everything else right?
Yeah, there's, I mean, obviously planned stuff doesn't really happen
Stopped.
anymore, or at least can't happen right now.
Yeah.
When you might plan for it in the future, but
Jason, I'm going to put
Yeah.
played for Bowser's for Bowser's Fury.
Fine, that's fine. What about that? Bowser's Fury.
This is tough because now we're
Now
getting
we're
into
tough.
stuff that we individually like a lot, I think.
yeah, it is.
I mean, I like Persona, but I don't think it has the 3-person support. So that's the.
I think you've got 2-person support at least, and I wouldn't say that I disliked it. I just got bored with it.
It does. I think it at the beginning of that game especially, and this is the point in the podcast where we start tearing apart games we love.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, it lays a lot of systems on you really quickly, and that almost overwhelmed me.
Yeah,
I was almost with you where I was just like, maybe I don't care about this game, but then I put it on easy and I just mashed my way through and just to get to the story bits. I think the story's really, really,
I
really
think
good.
the story's really strong
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I really like the narrative part of that game a lot.
What about Kingslayer coming back up here
Okay,
again?
what are you doing?
What about Deathloop?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
No,
No.
medium.
No. Gosh.
What about? Okay. This is
This is getting hard because
I see Bowser's Fury on here, and I'm like, it's fine, but it's a bite-sized Mario experience, and these are all full-fledged games.
but it's maybe the most like innovative game on this list. Maybe not. It's close
I
though.
wouldn't say it's most innovative. I think it shows what an open world Mario can ultimately be.
And you can carry around multiple power-ups, which is a game changer.
Wow.
Just the way that, like, if you get stuck in the water, one of those lizard things comes up and you can climb on it. Like, it just has so many cool little ideas. I might. You're probably right. Like, we could probably get rid of it, but man, it's just like I look at this game as like, this is a future pillar of Mario. This is a game that we're going to see again in some form.
Yeah, and maybe a full version of it
Yeah.
would ultimately be the better version of it. Because this was like it was it was almost like a world within what could be a full-fledged open world Mario game. Like this is just a section of it, like that you would go to, like an island.
Yeah.
Although there were 3 islands in it.
I mean, there are 3 or 4 games I'd rather cut than that, but
Me too.
Okay, what are they?
I would cut Boyfriend Dungeon. I'm sorry, Logan.
I know. It's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so you would cut Bowser's Fury right now. You would cut Boyfriend's Dungeon. I would cut Death's Door.
That's tough.
That's tough.
Yeah, the 2 on this list that I'm seeing that I really don't have much affinity for are both ones that I know are very high on your list, Logan, because it's Boyfriend Dungeon and Guardians of the Galaxy.
If we had to cut one, I would cut Boyfriend Dungeon first.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's probably the way to go, to cut Boyfriend Dungeon and Bowser's Fury. Boyfriend Dungeon, I think is, I think it's good. The combat in it starts out as being hard and then gets mind-numbingly easy.
Once you get the right perks, you're just like,
Yeah.
it's so easy. Yeah.
This-
That's not the point of that game.
Yeah,
The point of the game
Yeah.
is the dating sim.
and the dating sim I think is good. I've played better dating sims, as
I've never
weird as
played
that
dating
is.
sim, so
I
this
think
was new for me.
I think maybe that's part of the reason why you like it so much is because like you've never played anything like this before.
Yeah.
Um,
And it had a little bit of action in it too, other than a dating sim. So it was
Right.
like, hey, do some action and dating.
yeah, like I think Dream Daddy from a few years ago is a better dating sim than this.
Okay.
Um,
I never played it, but yeah. So yeah, I'm fine with it going here. It was a fun time with it. I'm glad it was on Game Pass. I never would have touched it otherwise. So thank you, Game Pass, for another for introducing me to something that I never would have done before. I think that is one great thing that Game Pass does for all of us.
So the things that have been brought up, Persona 5, Strikers. I'm the only one that really liked Psychonauts 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. If there was more time, I probably would have played it more. It just didn't grab me to where I felt like I was like, oh yeah, I want to play more of this. But I think it was a perfectly fine game.
So between that stuff, I think Bowser's Fury is probably the lowest for me. So should we do Boyfriend Dungeon and Bowser's Fury?
For now, yeah, that's fine. And that takes us down to, I think we're to 11.
And this is where it's going to get really tough.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our top 11 games here are Death's Door, Deathloop, Final Fantasy VII Intermission, Halo Infinite, Hitman 3, Inscription, It Takes Two, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Persona 5 Strikers, Psychonauts 2, and Resident Evil Village. Jason, you played a little bit of Psychonauts 2, and you said stopped. Any specific reason why?
I just don't like the way it looks.
Yeah, I
don't
like the art
way
style.
I don't like the way the characters are rendered. That's it. Like that's the only thing. It doesn't. I didn't hate the way it played, and it's more of a taste, like a eye of the beholder situation. I'm trying to. There's a word for that. It just doesn't jive with me. But I don't hate the way it plays, and I don't dislike the idea. So I think that game is like, as far as games media, it's like the runner-up almost everywhere. It seems like everybody likes it just enough until they break out to the individual award that they handed out. So we've already killed most of those games for us, but like when they land on Returnal, or they land on Inscription, or they land on It Takes Two, I think Psychonauts is probably the runner-up in almost all of those situations. But I I don't know what it means for us, and how important it is to Caleb. I think has to kind of guide our discussion.
I think that's what we're down to here is
We're down to Guardians and
Exactly.
Psychonauts. That's
Yeah.
exactly where we're at. So
which one is more important to
To
the
the other.
individual.
um,
I
so say your piece about Psychonauts 2. I'll say my piece about Guardians, and then I think we'll kind of go
wanted to
from
say
there.
what
Okay.
the thing for me with Guardians,
Mhm.
because I did play a little bit of it.
Yeah.
I just hate the combat. And maybe I need to push through. Maybe it opens up more.
It does
Okay.
open up a lot more.
It just, every time I get into a combat scenario, I'm like, I just want to know what happens. Like, I don't want to do this.
Have you gotten any of the elemental upgrades?
No.
So there's 4 elemental upgrades that you get it throughout the game,
Okay.
and it's a long game. I mean, that game is 18 hours.
Yeah.
That's that being said, that game needs an editor. I will say that games this year in general needed an editor. They each, I would say, a large amount of the games that are on this list that are left could have had 10% cut off of them easily. I mean, I'm just looking at this and I'm going, Death's Door, yep. Deathloop, maybe not.
You know,
Final Fantasy VII, I could have actually used a few more hours there.
That's what I was going to say. Like, it's weird because the games that are at the top of my list are the ones that are immune to that statement.
Yeah, Halo Infinite, I think there was like maybe a mission that could have been cut and then maybe added some more open world. Inscription, well, that's a whole other story. Hitman 3 is kind of its own weird thing because I could have maybe even used another map of that. It Takes Two needed some time cut off. Guardians needed some time cut off. I don't remember enough about Resident Evil to say one way or the other, and I can't comment on the other two. But Guardians, so like I said, as it opens up, the combat gets more different. It differentiates because there are guys that get shields. There are guys that get, and there are certain types of shields that require different elemental things to take care of those shields. So you're flipping back and forth between different, between either ice, fire, electricity, or wind. So you can start pulling, like there'll be like people up on a platform and you can like pull them down with the wind thing and pull them right up to you. Then you actually start using your like combos. So like you'll like punch, and then like Drax will come over and finish him off. You can, and then once you start to figure out the different ways of playing with like each of the upgrades of the rest of the Guardians, because you'll pull up the LB is what brings up the characters, like all the characters. So it'll be like LB, and then you pull up A for Rocket, and then you can either use like more of a like a stun type thing or more of an attack type thing. So just depending on what you want to do, and then whether you want to like focus on one specific person. So like there's times like where I would go with I think it was a large group of people. Rocket has a gravity thing that you can pull like he throws a gravity bomb and pulls everybody together all in one spot. And then you can use like Groot has a thing that then explodes everybody up in the air. Then like you can have Gamora come in and slice everybody up. And then and Drax just has a big thing where he just throws a big rock at all of them right in the middle. So like you can set up different things to do like that. Or if it's like a boss, Groot had something where he could only Groot could hold large enemies together so that they couldn't move. Like he would like and strangulate them together. So there's just different ways of pulling all the teamwork and stuff together. And I thought that once all that stuff opens up, it gets a lot more fun. That being said, though, chapter 14 and 15 have sections of combat that are just obnoxiously too long. Like it just didn't make any sense of why there were just corridor after corridor after corridor of enemies to fight. It just,
That sounds familiar with another game on this list.
it does. But at the same time, that one was fun. So at the same time, the story of this game is very well done. I don't want to get too deep into the story of this because it would honestly take probably about 30 minutes to explain the story of this. But the overall redemption story and almost origin story, even that they were able to tell within a game that, if you've watched a Marvel movie, one of the Marvel movies of Guardians, you at least know who he is, who Peter Quill is and how he became Star-Lord. But this actually goes back in time. There's sections where you could do some flashbacks with your mom in the 80s and stuff, and all that stuff is really well done. But ultimately, I get where the combat is not everybody's cup of tea, and especially the first few hours of that is very repetitive. There's also a lot of heavy story in the beginning of it too, so you're just sitting there watching a lot of it the first few acts.
And that I've been okay with because the story has been
Story's
interesting.
the story
Yeah.
is really good, and it gets even better. And the environments, the fact that they were able to change up all of those environments and make them look as well as they did, that game looks really good.
Yeah.
I think that's for an alien type thing. I mean, you can kind of make it be whatever, but they did a good job of blending like cityscape type stuff into like weird caverns and then like more outdoor spaces and everything, so that they did change the variety up of everything a lot. So I will give them credit that for that long of a game that they were able to create all of those different environments. It was almost like they took that event, like, because I mean it is based on that original Avengers game platform, and that game just suffered from they tried to cram too many characters into it and never really made one character good, which is I think they learned a little bit from that with just, okay, you're just going to be Peter Quill and you can't be the others, which I think at first turned people off, but I think if you tried to do it the other way, the game would have sucked. Although at the same time, I would have liked a co-op version of that. Maybe that would have been fun to be able to have a co-op version of it, but yeah, I just finished it a few days ago, so it's still decently fresh in my head. So whether 6 months from now I'll be like,
Right.
I'll still look back on it with reverence. If anything, at this point, I almost look at it as still maybe a little minor bit of annoyance with that last few chapters having so much excessive combat that didn't need to be there. But that story was very well done and just kind of had a good feel good story to it even along with it. So that's my 2 cents on Guardians.
So Psychonauts 2.
Yeah.
So the thing I really love about Psychonauts 2 is that everything fits into such a good theme. So in the first Psychonauts, you're playing as Raz. You play as Raz in both games. Rasputin is his full name. And in the first game, he goes to psychic summer camp because he finds out he has psychic abilities. They're trying to teach him how to use his psychic abilities. The way that the levels work is you put a literal door on somebody's head, you go into their mind, and then you do stuff inside of their mind. In the first game, it was generally you go into somebody's mind to find out something. You need a new piece of information. So you go into somebody's mind to find out. In the second game, he is recruited as an intern to the bigger psychic organization, and they start giving him a little bit more power. So what he's doing a lot of the time in 2 is going into somebody's mind and trying to not just find out information, but actually kind of alter things. And he, at the beginning of the game, he tries to go into people's minds and fix their brain. He sees that somebody's having a problem, a mental issue, and he goes in their head and he's like, I'm going to solve this for you. I'm going to fix your brain. And it's stuff like making mental connections. So there'll be 2 thought bubbles that come up and you fly between them to connect them. So instead of it going to the bad thought, you connect it to the good thought. And then he finds out in doing that, when he gets back out of the brain, he thinks he's fixed everything. He, in a lot of cases, made it worse. Because you can't really just tamper with people's minds like that and have everything work out. So he's learning that as he goes, and the farther he goes into the game, that when you go into people's minds, he's not necessarily trying to fix things, he's trying to understand things. So he's trying to understand what that person is going through and their problems. And when he comes back out, then he knows, okay, this is what this person is dealing with mentally, this is their struggle, and here's how I can help them in the real world, not in their brain. And I think that's really cool. I think that's a really good message. And I think it works. Everything in the game leads up into that theme of understanding mental health, not necessarily trying to fix it for people, but you understand them and what they're going through more. So that's why I liked Psychonauts 2 so much. I think... like you said, I think we're down to those 2 games. So it's just a matter of understanding.
I have a wrench.
Yes.
Not a wrench, whatever.
Yes.
I have a proposal.
Okay.
It seems like both of you care quite a bit about these individual games. And so after hearing what seems to be like equally passionate reasons why you both want those to stay, what about intermission? because it's not it's really look, I love Final Fantasy VII Intermission. Anytime I can play more Final Fantasy VII, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very short, and it's not a full-fledged game. This is similar to my Bowser's Fury argument in that it's not a full retail release, I would say, compared to the rest of these. And you guys are both talking about full releases, fleshed out games, well executed for the most part, with a few flaws here and there that see a beginning and an end with an appropriate hour count. I don't see that out of Final Fantasy VII Intermission. And trust me, I love Final Fantasy VII Intermission. So I'm just trying to balance what is appropriate here for the final 10 games on this list.
Yeah, for me, Intermission was like, I've always loved Yuffie. I love that character, and giving me a new way to play as that character was awesome. And then the one thing I'll say to counter your argument there is that if you do the side missions, that game actually does have a
I've
pretty
forgotten
significant hour
how many
count.
hours do you think? Because I did
eight,
almost
right?
everything.
You could be pushing 10 if you do everything.
Yeah, that
which
seems
is the length of
Some of these games.
I mean, yeah. And I think what's cool about that is if you do the side missions, especially the one where you're destroying boxes, and on the surface you think like, oh, it's just a time trial to destroy boxes.
Yeah.
But it teaches you have to engage with every section of that combat or you're not going to be able to do it.
You're right.
So it really teaches you.
That's true. That part is just like, why am I
Yeah.
I need
And
to
you're
hit
like, oh,
this button.
I didn't even know I could use that ability.
Yeah.
And then converting Fort Condor into a board game instead of that mini game
It's pretty good.
was absolutely brilliant.
Pretty good.
And that was fun too. I like that board game
I
a
even
lot.
liked Fort Condor.
Yeah.
So if those three games have to stay, hour count made me think of an interesting proposal.
Okay.
Would there be another game that you would take off other than Guardians that you would move to a lower spot?
I have a very controversial take, perhaps.
Okay.
What about Halo?
No.
Logan just says no.
I think Halo's a lot of fun, and I think it has a lot of promise with that open world. And maybe you're coming with a multiplayer
I'm
coming
coming at it with both perspectives, though.
That
yes.
single
Yeah.
player in the back third of that game is bad.
It drags on too long.
It takes all the fun out of everything they set up and puts you in corridor after corridor after corridor of enemies, and it's just you just want it to end.
Yeah.
That the last 3 hours of that game I did not enjoy at all.
It's fair.
And it's, I mean, when you're talking about length, it's like a 8-9 hour game. It's
Yeah.
not very long.
I also don't want a Halo to be that long either. I don't want it to be.
I mean, if
don't
it
want
was
to be
if it was
15 hour.
if they expanded out on that open world and made some more diverse missions, and they could go to a 20-hour game for sure.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be fun.
I think they clearly spent their time in multiplayer.
Yeah, maybe that's the part I'm missing because I didn't really play much of that at all.
So I see a few games that I think we all like on here, and then a few individual games that we like much more than others.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, you throw out Halo, I understand because of how Halo only goes so far with Caleb. And the way that, Death's Door only goes so far with you.
Yep.
Or in the way that Deathloop only goes so far with me. So I'm
Should we talk
thinking about
Deathloop?
well, it's either I think it's something like Deathloop or Resident Evil. Like a game that we all like. Well, I mean, we were gonna have to make a decision. It's a game that probably we all like if you guys individually feel like. Now, I don't need to know where they are on your individual list, but as you guys examine where Marvel lands for you, Logan, and where Psychonauts lands for you, or to be fair, I guess where I know you like Death's Door more than him, but where Death's Door lands with me or Deathloop, like where are the games that we all like compared to the two games that you guys want to stay? Like where are they for you personally? And if you can reconcile a game that we all like coming off the list, or is that individual game that we all like so much more important or higher on your list than Psychonauts or Marvel, or for me, Death's Door or Deathloop? So Deathloop or Resident Evil?
You're saying to cut one of those?
Yeah.
Oh, Resident Evil, there's no way. That thing's coming off.
That's Stan.
Well, I'm just saying these are games that we all liked. And so we all like Deathloop.
Deathloop.
Okay.
Because I feel like there might be potential here.
You guys, okay.
So where Deathloop lands with you guys for like, where's Deathloop compared to Marvel? Where's Deathloop compared to Psychonauts? And for me, like I said, Death's Door or Persona or something like that.
Okay, so if so this is my Marvel's my baseline.
Yeah,
Death's Door is below it. Deathloop is above it.
of course. This can't be easy.
No, it can't be easy.
Because so for me, like Deathloop didn't. I think it's good, and I think it's deserving to be in our top 11. I didn't really get into it maybe as much as some people did. I kind of just mainlined it and called it a day.
I as well. But it's still good. I mean, it's really good. It's well executed. It's a cool idea. There's lots of things that it has going for it. I don't know.
Here's my thought.
Yeah.
Guardians, I finished it. I liked it. You weren't compelled to finish it. You weren't compelled to even play it. I think that is the answer right there. I think it has to go. I think it's high up on my list, but it is not going to make our collective list because of that reason. If it was my number one game with a bullet, I'd be fighting for it a lot harder, but it's not. So I think the fact that I was also not, the reason I stopped Psychonauts 2 was not because it was a bad game. It was because I had other stuff I was more interested in, not because it was bad. So, and I mean, you were just kind of more just the art style turned you off than anything else.
I think I really love what Caleb said, and I love the idea of it, and I do think, and I don't use the word lightly, but as far as video games go, I think it's important. And so I'm having a hard time just because I don't like the way that Tim Burton-esque characters are rendered, and it kind of creeps me out. That's not a reason for it to leave the list or for me to hate on it in any way.
Right. So that's why I think it's just, I can't stump hard enough for Guardians to have that thing make a list. I just can't. So I think that's where we go, is with Guardians falls off the list. Guardians, you might make the wall, okay? You're going to make the wall out of this. What the heck is wrong with ODST's box?
Right next to Marvel Spider-Man.
Some would say it would go right here.
Right in that Marvel section.
Right in that Marvel section there. So, yeah. So we're going to do... So here's what we're going to do, the ceremonial...
I mean, it's just quickly as he walks away, I didn't realize that he was putting the Marvel games in the M section. So we've got to first fix that.
No, he's correct.
That is correct. When they are
Marvels,
listed alphabetically,
yeah.
They are. Yeah.
If you see on our list here, it says Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
I believe you. I just disagree. I guess if you're going to take one Max Payne,
are you one of those
off,
people
it
that
would be
organizes
2.
by genre?
Max Payne 2, you're okay, but you're just not Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy good. Okay.
I put my games in order of color.
Good for you.
Okay. So that is how I sacrifice this. Sacrifice my game by putting it on the wall. So we're down to a top 10.
We have a top 10.
We've done it.
In no particular order other than alphabetical.
Yeah.
We have Death's Door, Deathloop, Final Fantasy VII Intermission, Halo Infinite, Hitman 3, Inscription, It Takes Two, Persona 5 Strikers, Psychonauts 2, and Resident Evil Village.
Break time.
It's
Come
time.
back.
It's
and
time for a break. So if we were to just real quick, without naming any games or anything else, how many of these games are in your top 10? Or in your personal top 10 right now?
9.
I'm at 7.
Eight.
Okay. Just remember
That's
that.
good. That's good. No,
All right.
I like that we're like mostly represented here.
Yeah, I think that's the idea. So, all right, sounds good. We are going to break for lunch and come back and order these guys and crown our game of the year. And we are back. So we've got some food in us. We have watched last night's basketball game for a little bit, just kind of taking a well-deserved break so that we can get our mind right to rank these games appropriately. That being said, where we are is we are at Death's Door, Death Loop, Final Fantasy VII Intermission, Halo Infinite, Hitman 3, Inscription, It Takes Two, Persona 5 Strikers, Psychonauts 2, and Resident Evil Village. I feel like almost half of these games almost got lopped off there at the end, so it's
Yeah, I know.
kind
right?
of interesting.
Yeah.
So let's kind of see where these maybe end up here from like a. Is there any we want to like start throwing in? Maybe like throwing toward the bottom, and maybe that we go based on kind of how some of the discussions went last time. Which
Right.
I would say like Psychonauts sounds like Deathloop needs to be there.
Yeah.
At
Those are
least
the main two.
those are the main two at least.
So
I
here,
think.
let's move those both down to the bottom here.
Okay.
And maybe Strikers.
That's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So we move Strikers, Deathloop, Psychonauts down to the bottom tier of
Okay.
our top 10.
Okay,
Um,
that's fine.
What if we
mhm.
discuss those three now, knowing that they are the bottom three?
Okay, I think that's fair.
let me
Caleb?
let me look at this one more time here just to make sure that is indeed the bottom three. Because you guys think that the multiplayer for Halo Infinite pulls it up above those three.
Yes.
Okay. Do you
Jason?
concur with that, Jason?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then yeah, I think that the only thing that I would put down in that tier, for me personally, because I didn't really play the multiplayer much of Halo,
Right.
that's the only thing that I would put down in there. So
Is there anything, Jason, that you would put down in there that's not there?
I keep coming back to where Intermission actually lands now that it's made the top 10, but I'm also not bullish about that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think that Intermission could be higher than these three.
I would only swap out Death's Door for Deathloop, but I don't think I would win that battle.
So let's do this. Let's move Intermission down to, let's lock it in at number 7
Okay.
or number 6. No.
Well, it's because the
7.
title thing is there.
Yeah.
So I remember everything is not. Yeah. I mean, we could take out the title and all that stuff.
I think we lock Intermission at 7, and then 8, 9, and 10 are in some order: Strikers, Deathloop, Psychonauts.
Okay. So we've kind of had the Psychonauts has had its day in the sun.
Yeah.
It sounds like you two are a little more down on Deathloop than I am.
I would probably put Strikers above. Yes, I would definitely put Strikers above Deathloop. But
I would too, unless Logan, you absolutely want to make the argument
If-
that it
if
needs to
I'm-
go up one game higher.
No, because I'm not going to win that argument if you guys have already made that discussion. I mean, I think Deathloop is a good game, other than it has its faults lie within what it could have been versus, and that's what's
Yeah.
bad about that game is because there were so many things on the periphery. If they just would have made those visionaries something more compelling to go after, give me a reason to go after these people other than just get me out of this loop.
And I think the thing that surprised me about that game the most was that I thought from the beginning it was going to be more open, more you're figuring out how to take them all down in a day, and it turns out that the character is determining how to take them all down in a day.
It's a little more linear, yeah.
So that was probably my biggest issue with it, and like you said, that's a problem with what it's not what it is. So
'Cause I think the gameplay of that was a ton of fun. I mean, it was like a BioShock gameplay because your left arm you got to do one thing and your right arm you got to shoot, and for me that's a lot of fun. I like that. So gameplay wise, it ranks very high for me. Story wise, it falls. I like the environments. I liked everything else about it. It was just. Yeah.
So is this the order then? Strikers, Deathloop, Psychonauts?
Sure. And then
Intermission. Above that.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah.
7,
So
8,
far this is going okay. Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10 or so.
Okay. All right. So now we're probably getting into
now I'm with you, Logan. Now I think that Death's Door has reached probably its peak.
I'm okay with that.
At 6? Okay.
Yep. That makes sense to me.
I would push for Intermission being above that, but I don't know if anyone else is in that camp.
I would agree with that, but not super strongly.
Okay. I just did. I mean, even though it was a DLC, like you said, it was an 8-hour DLC. Like that's not anything just to sneeze at. Like I kind of prefer that.
Jason, I think you probably of all three of us loved Death's Door the most. Do you want to give it a piece?
I don't really like games like Death's Door very much, but for whatever reason, this really clicked with me. The art style and the music, especially. I enjoyed the combat quite a bit, and I feel like it was a fairly unique aesthetic and an interesting way to present death and the caricature of death, a cool take on that. It wasn't overly dark. It kind of was like what I like about Death's Door is the acceptance of death's existence and how it can not always be so dark and macabre. And it's a really cool take on that. Having said that, Caleb, how do you feel? Do you want to see it higher? Because I don't really care at this rate whether or not Intermission goes higher than Death's Door or not. I don't care.
I would put Intermission above Death's Door.
Then do it.
So would I.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. I mean, we've played both, and so if you guys feel, I like Intermission quite a bit, so I don't mind that at all.
So we got our bottom 5 pretty much set, I think.
Okay, well that was a lot easier than what I thought it would be too. I didn't dislike Death's Door. It just didn't click with me like it did for Jason and and your to a lesser degree. I think the music was great in it. For me, the combat never really quite clicked. The movement with it, there was just something about it that was just like. To me, this was a Hades wannabe, and it failed at it pretty tremendously in my mind, even though you were the opposite.
I think this is my preferred style of combat. I didn't click with Hades' style of combat, so
it's just
they're not the
preference.
same. I mean, it doesn't want to be Hades. Let's be clear about that. It's deliberately not Hades. That is not. It's not trying to be Hades. It's trying to be games that you don't play.
It was a dungeon crawler that it was just I don't know. Just something about the combat for that never did click for me.
Yeah, I would say that's probably maybe why you bounced off of games like that in the past, but it's not. I mean, Hades and Death's Door are very different.
Oh yeah, they are different games. Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, it was just a dungeon crawler. Oh gosh, where do we go from here? So now we're down to Halo Infinite, Hitman 3, Inscription, It Takes Two, and Resident Evil Village.
I know
Caleb's you're not as high on Halo.
Yeah,
Infinite.
This is where I would put Halo at 5 and call it good. But for me, it's pretty clearly there's a top 4 and then Halo.
Right.
But I don't know where you guys are with that.
I tend to agree with that, but that's it depends on how much Halo means to Logan compared to Hitman, Inscription, It Takes Two, and Resident Evil.
I'm okay with it being a 5 or 4 here because I know it's not going to be as high for Caleb, so I think that's fine with me. I think the only thing that I would out of these that I would put at a 5 instead would be Hitman.
I think Jason and I are. I can't say, but I'm really high on Hitman this year.
I really like Hitman too. I think we all like Hitman.
I like it. Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong.
You're splitting hairs at this point. So
Right.
So I'm okay with either of those. I would, if you guys want to argue about whether or not Hitman or Halo are 4 or 5 or vice versa, I really, if those games are in either of those spots, I feel like it's probably for us collectively the appropriate place. Either way.
Yeah. I don't.
Halo is the only game in here where I'm looking and I'm like, there's a part of that game, there's a stretch of that game that I never want to play again. The other 4, like I would gladly play.
All right.
You know
So
what I mean?
throw Halo at 5, and because there's a part of Halo that I'm going to play over and over and over and over again. It's not the campaign,
Right.
but yeah.
So
I
then-
think what? Well, let's just say something positive about Halo before we.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, the open world that they did, along with the hook shot or whatever it's grapple hook.
Grapple hook.
I think that was super smart. I still stand by what I said on the podcast, where I think this is going to change the way that developers look at first-person shooters from now on. I just think, I don't know if they ran out of time or what with that campaign, but the end is just a slog.
Yeah, I agree. The last couple hours of the campaign is a slog. Everything up until that point is A material.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I was willing to overlook that mainly because of the multiplayer.
Right.
That
And I
is-
agree with that.
The multiplayer, once they introduced the right maps into there, and kind of, it's still technically in beta, but it's out. It's out at this point. Once the full release happened, and Team Slayer is part of the general vernacular, it's superb. Like, that multiplayer is superb.
Yeah, multiplayer game of the year probably, and that's not some bold statement. I bet.
No.
Like if that were categories by major outlets, it would probably win that award almost.
Yep.
Hands down.
Yeah.
It's very good. It's very good. It'll be interesting to see where this goes from here, but for people our age, the aging gamer, it's good, and the younger generation of gamers seems to be taking to it as well, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
honestly.
I think as Vanguard is falling out of favor, not Vanguard, Call of Duty seems to be falling out of favor. There tends to be, I've heard there's a lot of cheating going on that they can't seem to get a handle on. And Fortnite is more directed toward a little bit of a younger age. There's a few other things that have popped up here and there that seem to be, gathering some of that, Twitch world or whatever, but this seems to still be lighting the world on fire from a multiplayer standpoint, and if they can keep up with it, it's not going anywhere.
They have a lot of room for growth too.
Oh yeah, this is early.
Yeah.
Like, this is the early part, so
Yeah, like I've seen a lot of criticism about the battle pass and the way that goes, but they've already adjusted it a little bit. But they have a lot of room to work with. So it's already great, and they have room to grow.
right,
too.
and it's Microsoft. They got money to throw at it to make it
Jeez, yeah.
right.
So we go up to Resident Evil after that, and we feel like Resident Evil is where it belongs.
So I don't think so. But
Okay.
I have two questions
Yes.
I have a question for each of you.
Yes.
I want to know, because I have not heard Logan's wrap up thoughts on Inscription because he finished
God,
it yesterday.
yeah.
And I don't think I've heard Jason's wrap up thoughts on It Takes Two, because I don't think we've actually talked about it since you stopped playing that.
Do you want to go, or do you want me to go?
I think the Inscription discussion is gonna be longer, so why don't you just hit on it?
It might be. I don't like It Takes Two very much, and that's okay. I know that I think because of the way you guys played it, there's a connection and a troubleshooting that you guys did that I didn't do, and once again, that's okay. And so I don't want to, out of all of the games that we have ever deliberated about, in the history of our little project here, I do not care where It Takes Two lies this year. If you guys said we like it, doesn't deserve to be on the list, fine. If it deserves to be considered to be the best game of the year, that's fine too, because you guys have this genuine connection with that game that I do not. And so I don't really mind where it lands compared to some years where I would be like, well, we need to all kind of come to a consensus on a game, but I don't care. I think there are a couple of things that turned me off about that game, but I think that is more personal to me and not really, I don't know if it's applicable to the conversation or needs to really have a huge impact on where it lands on this list because of the profound impact it both made on you. And so I am kind of like, whatever you guys think. If it needs to land wherever it lands, then that's fine, because I don't really care as much as I have some other years whether we reach a consensus on a single game, because it seems like you both genuinely like that game for similar reasons, and I have to respect that because it's not how I experienced the game, it's how you experienced it. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah,
I don't want to sit here and slam on the
right.
things that
If
I
you-
don't like about it.
if you don't
that's
have-
not productive.
If you don't have like a dedicated co-op partner playing that for the first time with you, I can see how that game wouldn't work nearly as well. That was all about the co-op experience. So
Yeah. And the thing that was is I tried playing it with Jason afterwards, but I'd already played it, so
Right.
I'd already knew all the answers to the puzzles.
Yep.
And I think that was the issue is I played it with my daughter first, and
Just not an organic thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And then on top of it, like if I'm not really enjoying it,
Right.
or if we sat there and I was troubleshooting it all, like I still don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much. So probably just not for me, on top of the way that our experiences were different. And that's okay. It really is. I like I said, in all of the games that we've talked about over the years, I think it's kind of up to you guys where this thing lands, and you're not
Yeah.
going to get much of a pushback from me.
So let's let these final 4 games here. Let's not try to rank them at all. Let's talk about them
Okay.
and then rank them after that. How about that?
Okay.
Okay. So this,
I want to hear your thoughts on Inscription though.
okay. So I guess I never heard Jason's final thoughts on it either, or really
Yeah.
yours. So I guess this is kind of just a overall. So I finished Inscription maybe 18 hours ago. So this is about as fresh in my mind. I plowed through this thing in 4 days, maybe. Act 1 can suck a dick. That thing, the RNG of that is screwed me so many times. Plus, I didn't realize how much of an issue the touchpad on my laptop was. I probably lost out on at least 10 runs due to an accidental click.
Yeah.
That is, no joke, 10 runs. And I'll never get that time back. But I sat down, plugged a mouse into it the other day, and finally was like,
There you go.
yeah, this plays a hell of a lot better.
Okay.
Like it made a huge difference. In that. So if I could cut 5 hours out of my first Act 1 run, I think it'd have been all right. Once everything started hitting of the what the hell is going on here, the amount of what the fucks I dropped during my time of playing that game, I'm pretty sure is around 25, somewhere give or take.
The
Goes
best,
places.
the best moment of the year for me of any of these games.
Which spoilers?
Is,
As we've said,
spoilers
yeah.
is an Inscription when you realize that you are the one literally uploading this game to Steam.
Yeah.
That just blew my mind. And then go like when you're the part that Jason you were playing when I was sitting next to you on the couch, where you're doing those little simple puzzles. Those are the captchas that Steam makes you do in order to upload a game. Like that kind of stuff is just insane to me.
I now understand why this isn't on consoles.
Yeah.
You can't put this on a console.
Yeah.
Right.
It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah.
I love when games subvert you like that, when they have some sort of fourth wall breaking thing. That's one of my favorite things in games.
There at one point I had uploaded a picture of my daughter who was then fighting me in as a card. I was like, what's going on here? This is really weird.
It is
Like,
weird,
yeah.
man. Your Steam friends are some of those cards.
Mhm.
And it's really crazy. You pick the files from your. How important is this to you? And then you're in the honor system. You're supposed to delete that file because you decided to choose it. Like this,
Yeah.
that stuff is, and the whole idea that like the game is this living, breathing thing that wants to connect to the world, and you unearthed it.
And what's the code called? I forget what it's called. Like there's some evil code that somebody wrote at some point.
Oh, the
and-
old data.
Yeah.
Don't go near the old
Yeah.
data. We don't go near the old data.
Yeah.
I think that game is pretty special.
Yeah.
No.
Especially because it starts out in Act 1, it starts out like a million other games. It starts out that card system
Mm-hmm.
and, the roguelike thing. You're like, oh, this is just another one of those. And then things start gradually changing. Like when you use the knife and he literally cuts his eyeball out. When you tear your teeth out using the pliers.
Yeah.
When
The sound is pretty.
even the first time you kill a squirrel to sacrifice it, you're like, what? What am I doing here? It's just it takes all of your expectations and totally subverts them. And that's what especially coming from the perspective of somebody that plays a ton of games, right? To have something that comes in, you think you've seen it all before, and it turns it all on its head. Super impressive to me.
A lot of people don't enjoy Act 2, but I actually liked Act 2 quite a bit because it's the first time you're like, this game is doing whatever it wants, and I'm just along for the ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
and that's. I think that we, especially the three of us, with the kind of games we play, we know what we're going to get pretty much all the time. And I haven't felt that way maybe in a long time, where I'm just like, I do not know what to expect next. I have no idea what's coming. I just narratively alone, easily story-wise, my favorite game of the year, because I didn't see any of this coming. Also, I don't know if I got the good ending, the bad ending. I don't know what happened. I don't really care. It's just
There was
it's
multiple
wild.
endings?
I don't think there's multiple endings.
Okay,
They're
I was
not.
I don't
Okay.
think there are.
Okay, I was
Okay.
gonna say the ending I got was it was an ending.
An ending, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Poor Lukey Carter. Poor guy.
I jumped. I don't know about you. But like I was like, oh God, like it just.
It's pretty surprising. I don't know who the woman is that offs him at the end. I don't.
She was from the original company.
Yeah, game.
So she's
Game
from
Funa.
Game Funa.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
But is she really? Like, do we
But
know?
maybe
you
she's
know
not.
You know
Maybe
what I
She,
mean?
she was redacted. Was what it
Maybe
said.
she's
Yeah.
one of the people that initially wrote the old data.
Maybe she was the
Maybe,
person who
okay.
disappeared. Yeah,
Because it
like-
was supposed to be like, I looked at it afterwards to some articles to kind of explain what happened, and it was supposed to be like some Russian code that was developed in like World War II or something as like a doomsday device or something like that, and that's what the old data is, and it was trying to use this game to distribute itself, and then you are the one that's uploading it to the internet, so you're supposed to be. And then, so if you take that as canon, if you take the fact that you uploaded it to Steam, then everybody else in the world that's downloading from Steam is also spreading this data, which is back to you doing it. It's so cool.
Yeah. I can't gush enough about the story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It really is.
I know, Logan, you said at one point, you said, I love everything around this game, but I kind of hate playing it.
Yeah.
And I get that. Some of the card stuff is a little, if you're not into that genre, then you're gonna struggle through it a little bit.
Yeah, I think the latter Act 2 and Act 3 I was fine with. The Act 1 part, I just felt like I was just constantly getting screwed. I was just like, I'm tired of just getting screwed over and over and over again, just on bad pulls. Like I'd have a good run, I'd have a good set of cards, and the next thing you know, it's like, all right, I won't fight the boss. I just drew the 4 worst cards I could possibly get, and now I'm stuck with this. Like that was just, I felt like that just kept happening over and over again. And that was the issue I think that I had. It was just more of just, I kept having bad RNG. And
Your how long after you got the last puzzle done in Act 1?
Oh, did it take for Act 2 and Act 3?
No, I mean you were done with Act 1 within like the next hour of
Oh,
gameplay.
after you left Sunday?
Yeah.
Maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably an hour. But then, then after that, though, I mean, I'd say Act 2 and Act 3, I probably were done with in maybe 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
But Act 1, I was easily, I think I was 12 hours in at that point.
Yeah, I think that was the last piece for you.
Mhm.
Because then you were in Act 1 for marginal the amount of time, right? Once you finished that clover, right? The
Well,
plant.
I don't even know if that really helped.
Oh, okay.
No, I think it was just I finally got a run.
Okay.
It was just a matter
Took down the moon.
Yeah. So,
That's a pretty good moment, too.
yeah.
That boss fight where Leshy brings down the moon. Like, this game is batshit crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we've talked about It Takes Two. We've talked about Inscription. That leaves Resident Evil and Hitman 3.
Mm-hmm. Caleb, you want to talk about Hitman? You seem to be the super Hitman guy here.
Yeah, I played the crap ton of Hitman.
Yeah, you went through all of it.
Well, it also had the benefit of coming out in January, which is always
Yeah.
nice.
The benefit and the detriment because people forget about
That's
it.
true. It's true. I think this is by far the best Hitman they've done. The level design for this game, even the train level that a bunch of people hated.
I didn't mind the train level.
Even that I thought was really well designed, just in the way that they give you just a different way of approaching stuff. It's almost like when you get to that point, it's almost like, I know other people have said this, but you're playing the game in reverse. Like for like the first 4 levels or whatever, you're the one hunting, and in that one, you're the one being hunted, which is really cool. Just turn the whole thing on its head.
Yeah.
But just Berlin was incredible, where you didn't even know who your targets were, and you have to go in there and figure it out first. But by that point, you've already learned all of the tools you need to be able to do that, which is really cool. Was it South America with the vineyard? I don't remember where that was.
The wine place was great. I don't remember where it was, but it was the winery that you had, and you could kill people by throwing them into the random equipment. That was great.
Yeah. There were so many ways to kill your targets in that level, and most of them were fun. You could impersonate the tour guide and take people on a tour. And you'd be subtly hinting at a way to kill them while giving the tour.
Yeah.
Like, if you were locked in this freezer, there would be no cell phone reception. I love the tone of it too. Speaking of that, just it's hilarious, but also like way over the top serious. It's definitely my favorite Hitman.
They leaned into the ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh hey, you can be ridiculous with this while also still like having a serious like backdrop of everything. I think that's where games struggle with that line of like this is like people look at it like Hitman's a comedy game. Yeah, it can
absolutely.
be. It's like you can make it serious or you can make it a comedy game. Whatever you want it to be. That's I guess what the world of assassination is it's whatever you want it to be.
Is it Dartmoor?
Yeah, I didn't even talk about Dartmoor.
That's my favorite part of that game.
The basically playing Clue.
Yeah,
like
Murder
that
mystery.
Yeah,
so good, so
and
good.
You can role play every step of the detective, which is crazy. That's
yep. I love that. I love Hitman 3. It's very good.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if we have anything else to say about Hitman 3.
Caleb also is probably the one that got the most out of Resident Evil. How many runs of Resident Evil, Caleb?
3.
Oh, okay. So less than I thought, honestly. Okay. Your final run was what, though? Really concise? How?
Yeah,
short?
I think the last achievement or trophy that I needed was like finished under 4 hours or 3 hours. I don't remember.
Either way,
but you
amount of time,
you can book your way through that. Yeah, I was way under it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, other than killing towards the end of the game when you're playing as Chris, when you drop down in that tunnel and you have to kill that boss down in the when you have to do that with only a knife, that's awful. That's the only part in that
But
game.
that's just a goofy
Yeah.
achievement to get. That's not a.
That's the only part in the game that I hated doing. Other than that, everything, I was just smiling the whole time. It's
Yeah.
goofy and ridiculous.
I love the lore of that game. Like
Mr. Winters. Can we talk about the Duke?
yeah, the
Yes.
Duke.
The Duke. The
Duke
Duke.
is great.
Character of the year, the Duke? Maybe.
Probably.
Maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, the entire fact that everything just is like your left hand, like is just whatever it wants to be. Like you cure yourself by pouring medicine on your left hand.
And then
like,
at the end of the game, they're like, of course you can, because you're made of mold. What?
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot. I need to try to look at some fan theory stuff about what's going on at the end of that game. Who's driving up? Like, do you guys have a good grasp of that?
no, not really, because it could go anywhere. Because it's
Right.
Resident Evil. They can do whatever they want. Like it could be Wesker, it could be Jill, it could be whatever. It could be Nemesis. I mean, like.
Rolls down the window slowly.
It can be anything. That's what's great about it. Like they've gone so goofy with it now that it's like
Oh, God, it's Ada. Ugh.
oh no. But yeah, I mean, just all of that game is just fun up and down. All the stupid little things with the giant lady, 7-foot woman, like and the,
Lady Dimitrescu.
Dimitrescu. Yeah, all I mean, like they did something with their 4 people, and they all had personalities that they should have done with the Visionaries in Deathloop.
Exactly. Yep.
That's where this game excels, is the personalities of everyone and why you would actually want to kill these people and why they exist and everything around it.
That's a good point.
Which do you like better? Do you like the happy birthday part from 7 or the dollhouse from 8?
Happy birthday! I
Happy
think.
birthday. for me.
I think that's right.
I think they were shooting for happy birthday with 8.
Yeah.
And it just, I mean, it was still good, but it wasn't as good as
Yeah.
the birthday thing. I mean, the birthday thing came out of nowhere. I think that's why 7.
That's one of my favorite moments in a game ever. It's superb.
Yeah.
So
So
we've got a top 4 list here, right?
yeah, Hitman, Inscription, It Takes Two, and Resident Evil Village.
Well, it sounds to me like It Takes Two needs to be number 4 here,
I'm okay with that.
because I think we're all in agreement that we all really love 3 of these games, and 2 of us love one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would probably say then at that point, if that's part of it, then I would just say maybe Hitman goes at 3, just because I don't know if I loved it as much as you guys did. I had fun with it, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know if I'm in love with it as much.
Okay. Yeah. I really like it,
That's
man.
fair.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. I think that.
I mean,
think
being in
that's
the top 3 it's pretty good.
yeah for Hitman especially, which didn't get. We're out on the limb here. You know, we're the only professional games media outlet
Right.
that is
Probably got
celebrating
I
Hitman
know.
right now. So
Right.
I feel good about
Yeah.
that, because
Mhm.
that game is superb and it deserved better than it got this past
Which
month.
really sucks, because like that just sets the precedent for don't release games in January. 'Cause
Yeah.
everybody's gonna forget about
Come
it.
on, but we
Yeah.
need games
Yeah.
to
Need good games in January.
Yeah,
Can
we
we
need
not
to
get
spread
every
things
game in
out.
October?
Yeah,
Like,
please.
Yeah, please. My fall depends on it.
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah, please.
Yeah, these last couple weeks of cramming games in hasn't been fun.
Well, this is like especially bad for us, because it's like basketball starts up.
Yeah, like
Games come out.
holidays.
Holidays.
Yeah, it's rough.
Does
Okay.
anyone want to make the case that they like Resident Evil as our game of the year versus Inscription?
Yes.
Okay.
I would personally put Resident Evil
Okay.
up there.
I would too. I think it's a more fleshed out. It's got the good gameplay. It's got the good story. I think the moments of Inscription are great, but it's not a total package. And where Resident Evil seems to me the more total package here, of if I'm putting the 2 up against each other, of hey, this is everything I want it to be in a video game.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I could honestly take or leave the card game from Inscription.
Right.
Sure.
It's fine.
Mm.
It's good for one of those, but
But then
it's not something I'm personally.
you're probably at like 30 minutes of a game if you take out the card game.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. What are you doing?
but
trying to
The-
unredact the videos that don't work.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing?
Right, yeah.
the stuff around the card game is where that game really shines, and brings it up to the top 2 here. But I think you're right. Resident Evil doesn't have that weakness. I think
No.
the gameplay and the stuff surrounding the gameplay is both solid.
I would even be open if you guys would be open to putting Hitman above Inscription. That is up to you guys, though.
I don't think we need to get too crazy here.
Okay.
All right.
I'm just throwing it out there as an option.
I will say that I think that I do disagree with you guys, but that's okay. And I do think that as the years go on, we will look at this as a mistake.
What?
Because Inscription will stick with us longer
I think I'll forget
than
about it in a
Resident
year.
Evil. You know, it won't, because it's too unique. You'll remember. Whether or not you want to think about it now, the thing you
That's a good
talk
point.
about, Caleb, about as the years go on, we would shift games around. This game will stick with us longer than Resident Evil, because Resident Evil will eventually be a very, very polished version of Resident Evil
And
7.
it'll be just another one of the games in the genre.
And that's okay, because it does all of those things really well. And we're going to get more, as the years go on, we're going to remember how unique Inscription was, and we're going to forget how polished Resident Evil was. But that's the only thing I'll say in Inscriptions, and why I think Inscription should be at the top, because you're not wrong about Resident Evil 8. Your points are well taken, and I can't argue with them. But I think that we will look back on this list and be like, Inscription was the special game from that year.
Especially because all of us have moments in that game that we really love. So if it's the game of the year for the channel, then maybe it is Inscription.
That's how I feel, and the only reason I feel about that is because I think it stands the test of time as we now go into the exercise that we do every year over time, and we're like, what were we thinking, or that wasn't maybe where we, but I don't really care enough to make that argument more than that.
Let's put it this way. I have a bold prediction. I don't think a single game from this year breaks our top 10. Not one. Of all
Well,
time.
I have to go back and look.
If we're going into that and Inscription isn't the number one, then I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know, because I think you're right about that if Resident Evil is it, but I don't know if it's
See,
if Inscription is it.
your Inscription argument that you're giving me right now reminds me exactly of your exact thoughts on Return of the Obra Dinn. And I mean, we're not talking about it, but yeah, it was unique for the time, but
It also wasn't our game of the year.
no, but I don't want I don't want to
Inscription
make
is-
this a game of the year because it did that unique cool thing. Like that's where I guess I'm coming at it from. I'm looking at this as this is a video game, like this Resident Evil Village is the most polished up and down video game of this year, and not because it's the most memorable thing. If we did most memorable thing, we would go back and make Wolfenstein the best game of the year a few years back. That had some great memorable moments, but up and down it wasn't a great game. It was a number 5, 6 game at best. That's where I guess I see Inscription is it's got a lot of great moments, but as an overall 15, 16 hours that I spent in that game, I had 30 minutes of a good time. At Resident Evil Village, 10 hours I played at that game, I had 10 hours of a great time.
Caleb?
Why do you both have to have good arguments?
Well, I don't care enough, like I said, to really I think that I think that it'll stand the test of time better, but I also don't disagree with any of the Resident Evil points.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. So
Okay, I have a weird train of thought here, but just
Yeah.
follow me, please.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, would you put Resident Evil above Hitman? Or no, personally?
give or take.
Okay.
Either or. Doesn't matter.
I don't remember where Inscription and Hitman even fell on my list. I think they're right beside each other, to be honest. But they're not in the top 5.
So I think we have to go back and remember that this is the game of the year for the channel, not some mathematical formula of
Right.
where it was on the top of everybody's list.
Does Inscription also get recency bias because we literally finished it all with, or you and I finished it in the last 7 days.
But I think I don't know, maybe I'm not remembering, but I think we've talked about Inscription as a group more than we talked about Resident Evil.
I think we finished it at different times. I think that was the issue. I think you and I finished it early, and Jason finished it a couple weeks after us, so that's why we couldn't talk about it.
Maybe.
That was also back in May, June. When did that game come out? I think it came out in May.
Right?
Yeah, it was May.
I think it came out in May. I think we wanted to talk about it, but we couldn't because we were doing the podcast stuff, and it was like, oh, we want to talk about Resident Evil. And then it was like, Jason hasn't finished it yet. Where are you at? Oh, you're here? Okay. All right, we'll talk about it next week. And then it was next week again.
It's already on his wall, Caleb.
It's already there.
It's already on his wall.
I see that. It's too bad that Inscription does not have a physical copy.
May never.
Because you mean it may be out there. We don't know.
I never know. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty good. It might make it. Take down South Park.
Man, I really like both of your arguments. Is the thing.
I don't know. I don't even remember how we do overtime. We'll have to look at that.
Overtime is we take the best games of the channel's history and we had them ranked
Rank them?
before.
But
and
what
then
is the
we bring in this year's games and we would say, okay, do any of these? So we'd start with like the top 3 and say, okay, do any of these top 3 games, are they better than like the game number 10 on the list?
For example, and I'm willing to admit that I don't think I was right when we talked about God of War 2018 versus Red Dead 2. I don't think you and I were seeing the future correctly there or understanding the impact that game would make or seeing some of the faults that Red Dead had as you got a little more away from it. And I think the God of War is now on that list where Red Dead might not be. I can't remember. So I just want to be careful that if we do decide that Resident Evil is our game of the year, which I once again want to say I am fine with because it's excellent, that we take into account the Inscription may stand the test of time or it may not. I don't know. Maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be like the Oberdin. Because Oberdin was certainly the most unique thing I played that year. But I don't talk about it very much.
I don't talk about it, but I still remember.
You'll remember the game, I guess, but I guess that's just where I go back of how, I mean, is the card mechanic stuff really that great in that game?
I think so. But I also understand why it wouldn't, and I don't play card games, so I would understand why it would bounce off of anybody because I don't really typically go to that stuff, but the more I learned how to play it, the more I enjoyed it. I would play through Inscription again. For sure. But I would also play through
Resident Evil 3 times.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was just going to say I would play through Resident Evil as well.
Yeah.
I would. So
yeah. The
we didn't listen to Logan about God of War, so maybe he's right about Resident Evil.
Maybe. Did you guys play Mercenaries at all?
1 and 2? Like
the part of Village.
I played.
Oh no! I thought you were talking about the games Mercenaries. I was like, what a weird thing to bring up right
No,
now.
I played a couple rounds of it. It's basically like the last section of the game with Chris, where it's just like you're just like it. So it's like that. And imagine like a what was that? What was that? It was like a horde mode kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's just they're gonna throw waves and waves of enemies at you. You got to survive. And
Does that positively or negatively impact the game at all? In either direction?
No,
what I was trying to figure out.
Because you can completely ignore it. It'd be different if it was... It's kind of like Uncharted's multiplayer. Like, it's there. Does anyone mess with it? No.
I mean...
Does it make the game worse because it exists? No.
Well, it's a really petty reason, but yes, it does make the game worse because it prevented me from getting a platinum. Because there's 2 Mercenaries trophies.
We have to listen to that. We may not have the achievement sickness like we used to, but we do have to listen to that logic.
But there's no platinum that you can get for Inscription. It's just not even there. It's not even an option for you.
You can get all
there's
the Steam
achievements.
Yeah, you can get all the...
I don't know how Steam achievements work.
It's
I saw them pop up.
It's like Xbox.
Right.
It's the same.
Yeah, but there's literally a Steam achievement unlocker program. You just download the program and unlock all the achievements if you want.
Well, that's just annoying then.
So they mean literally nothing.
Literally nothing, yeah.
I'm trying to grasp at straws here of any.
I guess
Are you
the thing
just
is
torn?
like,
You're just
yeah,
not sure?
I've heard you mention about games before of stuff that like hey, I played this PC game, and one of the things was I actually had to go into my files and do something. Like, that's not unheard of. It's not like it's doing something probably new for Jason because he's never done that before, but I've heard you go and talk about that. There's been
True.
games where it breaks
Yeah,
the
like
fourth wall and does
Doki
that.
Doki
Doki
Literature
Doki
Club.
Literature Club. Like, it's not unheard of. So it's not a new mechanic. It's just somebody did it in this style of game.
It's got awesome FMV.
It does
What about
have
the
FMV.
What about the FMV? Come on. It's got floppy disks.
Mhm.
It's got FMVs. He digs something out of the woods.
Duke.
Oh, well, Duke's pretty great.
Every time one of you has an argument, the other one has a perfect counter argument.
He cut off his hand and just taped it back together, and he was fine.
Mold man.
Like, it was.
Mr. Winters. Which story reveal is better? The fact that the game is trying to take over the world in Inscription, or that Ethan Winters has been dead since the beginning of 7? Both pretty good. Which one's better?
The Inscription wins that one.
Inscription's better, but the way that I got there was a lot more fun in a Resident Evil than it was in Inscription.
For you.
For me.
For you.
Yeah, I agree with Logan on that. For me, too.
I fought the moon. I fought the moon.
I fought a 7-foot woman with giant fingernails who chased me around a basement
I sacrificed a squirrel.
several times. It lost its luster after hour 8.
That's true. That's fair.
Do I have to decide this?
I don't really care. I think either one is fine with
I
me.
will say that this year has been the most, for me, like the my top 3 games could have easily been replaced on any given day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one thing I will say for this year. I mean, there was a lot of good games this year. I don't think anything, like I said, I don't know when we get into overtime here, I don't know if anything's going to top anything from the last 6 years.
Yeah, I don't feel that way, but that's each individual's opinion. Inscription has hit me like a ton of bricks. Like it has made me evaluate the kind of games that I'm looking for, and whether or not I have a card game on my phone.
Can Inscription remove Stardew Valley from our top 10 of all time?
No.
Damn. Okay. Well. Okay. If it was going to, I was all about it being
If
number
that's
one.
up to me, that is a very clear no.
What if Stardew dies unless she takes a picture of it? And what sigil of Stardew can we attach to Inscription on the way up the list? That's all. I was talking to a coworker of mine who I'm now playing a card game with on my phone, like a deck building game. And I'm like, do I actually like this? Like, would I play a tabletop game? Like, are these things that I've just been like, that's the line. That's my nerd line. My nerd line is video games. Maybe it's not. Like, maybe I would play tabletop games. Maybe I would enjoy. I think this thing has, every year it broadens my horizons a little bit more. And Inscription just knocked me over. I can't believe, and I know you don't like and I totally understand why you would bounce off the card game, but I like it. Like, I genuinely like it. And then I enjoyed watching you play it. All I wanted to do that day, instead of spend time with my family, was to play Inscription with you. All I wanted to do was watch you play Inscription. I don't, like, typically, like, the only game I want to watch anyone play is Mortal Kombat. Like, because I love it that much. But I probably could watch 24/7. I could leave an Inscription stream on my phone or on a device, and I would look at it and be like, what you gonna play? Ooh, look at your deck. What card you gonna pick? Like, I'm shocked at how much it's resonated with me as a total package. I like playing it. I like the story. Maybe I need to be more accepting rather than just let a game disappear. But Resident Evil's pretty awesome. So like I said, I'm not trying to be apathetic here. I don't think we can go wrong with either. I just think that Inscription will stick with me longer, and I'll think about it more and want elements of Inscription to go into mainstream games more that I like. Because, look, these are all really good games I'm looking at here. Pretty formulaic, you know? You know what you're going to get out of them. And for the first time in a long time, I was like, what is going on here? What is this game? And I haven't felt that way in a long time, especially as we look at this list of very good games. Like Halo, I will dive into the campaign and beat that. I love the multiplayer, but I know what I'm going to get there. I know what I'm getting. It's not going to surprise me. So that's why I do wonder if Inscription will stand the test of time better than Resident Evil. But you could be right, Logan. We could look at that list and be like, oh shit, well, there's no room for it. I don't know. I don't know.
First of all, Jason, you should add Pony Island to your list.
I should play it.
You should play Pony Island.
Yeah.
Because that was from the original. That's from people who made this,
Daniel
right?
Mullins games, right? Probably cheap too. Pony Island.
So this is so weird because we're comparing. Okay, so Jason is super passionate about Inscription. I think we're all somewhat passionate about Resident Evil, and then Logan and I are less passionate about Inscription. So it's like, do we go with the game that we all? Do we go with the middle choice, or do we go with the one with the extremes? You know,
I mean, Resident Evil is not my number one game, but it is very high up there. I mean, yeah. So I don't know what to.
Pony Island is $1.64.
There you go.
All right then.
it's short too.
Is it? Okay, cool.
I'm just more lukewarm on Inscription than I mean that for me, like I said, it was a game of some like, hey, that was cool to see, but I don't see myself diving in anywhere else with this. Where if Resident Evil 9 trailer comes out tomorrow, that great, I'm all over that.
he sounds like it sounds like the plan was to spend the past few months on bugs for Inscription as it rolled out. And there aren't very many, so there's more Inscription content coming.
Oh.
So I think you will dive into that pretty much right away. I will. Will you?
I guess it depends on what it is. I think it just depends on what they're going to do, because if it's like, hey, we're going to throw in Act 2.5, like
if they came
no
out
thanks.
with an additional RE Village DLC, you'd jump on that.
If it was like story based, not mercenaries based, but if it was like, hey, we're gonna give you a 2.5-hour DLC for $10, sure. If it was a, hey, here's $10 for, or even $5 for like a, hey, this is Act 2.5, like you can now, there's just a version of Act 2 that you can do for like a longer period, I probably wouldn't even touch it. Unless somebody said it was like, yeah, you got to see the ending of this, and I might even just YouTube it.
Yeah. Okay.
At that point, like I felt like I needed to experience Inscription. Like there was a part of me that was like, if I don't finish this, I'm just gonna have to YouTube the end of this thing before tomorrow. Like,
right. I think it's got to be Resident Evil. Just because I think there are parts of Inscription that didn't connect with Logan.
oh yeah.
I hear Act 1 was not his favorite. I'm getting the sense
Not
after
no.
talking to him.
And I don't know if there's parts of Resident Evil that didn't connect with any of us. Are there?
Yeah, no, I really like Resident Evil.
Right.
So I'm not. I want to be careful in saying I really still like Resident Evil.
This is. Do we go with which game has the higher ceiling or the higher floor? Because the higher ceiling would be Inscription, right? The higher floor would be Resident Evil.
Yeah. Then that just kind of goes back to just hey, this is just a well-polished game up and down. Like that's where I look at it as than just being like, hey, this was a highlight.
So when I get really excited about whatever this next thing in Inscription is, you guys just remind me. But Jason, the Duke. I'd be like, all right.
Duke.
Yeah, the Duke.
All right, I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Okay.
Resident Evil moves up.
All right. We've crowned our game of the year. Let's rattle through our top 10.
I am really curious to come back to this in like you said, in 2 or 3 years and see if if our minds have changed on that. That
maybe as an overtime here, let's go back. We'll stop. Well, after we
yeah.
go through here, we'll do our overtime segment. We'll kind of see where that ends up. So, all right, top 10 games. Number 10, Psychonauts 2. Number 9, Deathloop. Number 8, Persona 5 Strikers. Number 8, but Jesus, I can't. This time, I got to do this. This is gonna mess with me.
Yeah. Just delete that first
Just
row.
delete that first row. Number 7, Death's Door. Number 6, Final Fantasy 7 Intermission. Number 5, Halo Infinite. Number 4, It Takes Two. Number 3, Hitman 3. 3 is Hitman 3. Sure, that works perfectly.
Beautiful.
Number 2 is Inscription, and number 1 is Resident Evil Village, or Eightage, however you would like to refer to it as.
Yeah, that should have been a number 8 game. Final Fantasy should have been on number 7.
Game, right.
Persona
So
5
six-
Strikers. Psychonauts 2.
2 is number 2, yeah. Well, you have It Takes Two, so I don't know how you...
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But then, so number 1 should have been Halo Infinite because it's 1. Or should that have been 10? I don't know.
It's 0.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
really
0.
confusing.
Yeah, like it's number 9,000 or 9 million, or however many lines that Google Sheets will take up. All right. Well, that has been Game of the Year 2021. We are going to create probably a second video here for overtime, where we will discuss our top 10 games of the entire time of the channel, and we're going to review our past year's top 10s and say, hey, would we change this at all? Because maybe we would. So that's been it for 2021. Anybody have anything else left to say about 2021?
Good year. Maybe not the best year for games, but good year.
Yeah.
I think a solid year overall.
All things considered,
Right.
pretty solid year, right?
Yeah, solid. I would
Yeah.
say solid. So now that we're in our second, or I guess really our first full year of new consoles.
Yep.
Too. So, all right. This has been the Master of Unlocking podcast and Game of the Year extravaganza. Have a good rest of whatever you're doing. Hello and welcome back to the Master of Unlocking Gaming Extravaganza of 2021. We are finished up our Game of the Year, and now we are in overtime where we are looking at our best games of the history of this channel, which is since 2016. So when we pull up our list of our top 10 games of the channel, I'm just going to rattle them off 10 to 1 here. So since 2016, our number 10 game was Inside. Number 9, Titanfall 2. Number 8, Resident Evil 7. Number 7, Stardew Valley. Number 6, Cuphead. Number 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 4, God of War, the 2019 version. Number 3, Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Number 2, The Last of Us Part 2. And number 1, Persona 5. So what we do is kind of a reevaluation of our top 10 games as a collective. And one of the things that we do is we do poll this year's top couple games of the year. So we've got Resident Evil 8 Village and Inscription as our top 2 games of the year. Do we feel like at any point that let's just take the bottom 3 games here. It's easy enough for one. So is Resident Evil 8 better than Resident Evil 7?
No.
No.
No. Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. Is Resident Evil 8 better than Titanfall 2? No.
I would say yes, but that's...
I would say no. Jason's giving it a glaring look.
Probably not, in my opinion. Close.
Well,
closer for me than
This is
Logan.
another one of those where you guys have the multiplayer to lean back on, and I don't.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it makes sense to leave Titanfall there.
And is Resident Evil 8 better than Inside?
Yes.
Yes? Jason? Is that-
Personally.
Personally?
As a collective, probably not. We
Prob-
all really liked Inside.
Yeah,
Well,
probably
it
not
was just
collectively.
Inside. I think we always come back to this. It always holds a special place in our heart because we got together one day for lunch and we were like, "Did you guys play Inside? Oh my god, did you see this?" And then we decided, what if we, instead of us just sitting around talking about this at lunch, let's talk about it and record it.
Yep.
So I think that was. So it's always going to hold a, that type of emotional thing or for us, but. Is it a better game? I don't know. It's toss up for me.
It probably needs to stay though. Because this is the collective list. This
Yeah.
is an individual list. So
Mhm.
collectively, I think it's more important to all 3 of us to have Inside on this list.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So nothing made the list.
I don't think so.
I don't think anything cracked this list this year.
Yep.
Is there anything from this list we would want to reevaluate the order of? So looking at where everything lives from a overall,
Stardew Valley moves up.
Stardew Valley falls to number 10 and Inside moves up.
Do you want to? Okay, here, let's throw you a bone. You've been taking a lot of L's today.
I've taken a few L's today.
Let's throw you a bone here. What if we move Resident Evil 7 above Stardew Valley? It's a small bone, but I'll throw you that bone.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take whatever I can
I'd
get.
do that. I can understand
Hey.
that. Yeah.
Hey, something happened today. That's good to know.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm okay. I'm totally okay with that.
All right. Something happened. Something moved
Yeah.
on the list. Are we still feeling pretty strong that Persona 5 is the number one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to double check, and we we had that Last of Us Part 2 Final Fantasy 7 remake debate last year. I mean, that was
And I still, in my mind, Final Fantasy is up above Last of Us, but I know that you two connected with Last of Us way more than me, so.
What if I were to say upon further review that I think that if I were reordering this list, I would say that it would be Persona 5, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, God of War, Last of Us Part 2, then everything else the rest of the way it is.
Say that again. Persona.
Persona, Final Fantasy 7, God of War, Last of Us Part 2.
That would make my day.
Jason's giving
But
a
Jason
very
was-
cringy look
We
of
get
like,
the stink eye over here from Jason.
which part of that do you not agree with, or all of it?
I'm pretty sure that Jason called Last of Us Part 2 his favorite game of all time. So
I don't know where it lands, but it is up there. Let's not forget.
Okay.
It's really hard. Like, I feel like, and I made this argument last year, but like The Last of Us Part 2 is, let's not throw the word around masterpiece too lightly here, but it's
very, very good, yes.
it is easily one of the best video games that has ever been created. And that is not up for debate. That's a fact. It is one of the best games ever. Easily.
there are issues with Last of Us. It's not perfect.
I think the level of quality in that game buys it so much other grace and any other misstep that it makes because of the quality of that video game.
It depends on what you value most. Yeah. If you value the high production value, the voice acting, the performances, if you, in that way, the level of polish, yeah. If you value more end-to-end story, there's some rough spots.
There's also I think there's a lot of excess in that game. Another edit. I'm really harping on editing, but like, it's just sometimes there's just filler. I hate filler.
Play like a dragon.
I get what you're saying.
I will hear the argument for us personally, Final Fantasy being in that second spot. But also, we played Final Fantasy this year.
Yeah, that was what I was just gonna say.
So I'm a
Final
little-
Fantasy's fresh in our heads when
Maybe.
Last of Us is
I
not.
would like to proceed with caution if
Yeah.
we think about moving a game like Last of Us. Like that can't move without a really serious conversation.
Maybe that I am looking at it with maybe a little more rose-colored glasses of, hey, I saw the HD remake of that this year, and oh boy, like that puts another level of, like, now that we've seen what that game can look like on a next-gen console, and boy, it's something.
Let's table that for next year.
Okay.
Is my let's get another year removed from those games, especially if we don't get any Final Fantasy 7 this year. I can't remember if we
I
are.
don't think we are.
You never know. Maybe we will. I don't know. But if we don't, then maybe it'll be more appropriate to weigh those games against one another.
Just one more idea here. What if we swap Cuphead with Red Dead Redemption?
Sure.
The more I look back on Red Dead Redemption, the more of the faults I remember of it and not the strong points. So,
I have no qualms one way or the other of that.
and the more I look back on Cuphead, the more I remember how strong that game was. And in retrospect, that game didn't make my top 10. And in retrospect, like it should have probably been in my top 3 or 4.
Mm.
And so that is the argument one more time
Mhm.
that I fear that we are leaving a game in the dust forever with Inscription. We are leaving it
It's
in a pile,
number 2.
but we are leaving it in a pile that it will never come out of.
Yeah, but I think, at some point maybe we need to reset this list,
Mhm.
because if we're just going to keep, these
Mhm.
games, it's going to get harder and harder every year
To crack it.
to crack this list,
Mhm.
So at some point maybe we need to go back and review everything or start a new game of the channel list or something. Because you're right. Otherwise, if it's not on this list,
What you just said is exactly what
yeah.
is going to happen.
Well,
with that game.
then let's let it happen. Could that be really interesting to me if that does happen?
Okay. That's probably...
But yeah, I think let's move Cuphead up 1 and call this list good.
Okay.
So we're at Persona, Last of Us, Final Fantasy VII, God of War, Cuphead, Red Dead Redemption, Resident Evil 7, Stardew Valley, Titanfall 2, and Inside. It's a good list.
It's a good list.
Good list games.
Mhm. Agreed.
So this is what I suggested we do, because we have a little bit extra time here.
Mhm.
We all put down our top game of the year from 2016 to 2020,
Mhm.
and we're going to talk about whether or not that should be there or that should have changed. So we wrote down our individuals and also the channels. So 2016, I put Stardew Valley. Jason put Uncharted 4. Logan had Titanfall 2, and as a channel, we chose Inside. There's 4 different games. That's
Why
funny.
not, right?
Yep.
I'm trying to remember if there was anything else that year that came out that would have been like, oh yeah, like why didn't we include that?
I mean, for me personally, there's no way something's touching Stardew Valley here. So, this is I'm still firm on my game of the year from 2016.
I'm just looking through my 2016 games.
Mine is probably Stardew, because I played it the following year.
Oh, you're revised.
So you would put that above
Mhm.
Uncharted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm just looking at games that came out that year. Titanfall 2, which was my game of the year. Overwatch, Doom, Inside, Watch Dogs 2, Uncharted 4, Hitman, the first Hitman. The Call of Duty Advanced Warfare was one that came out that year. Dead Rising 4, Stardew, Forza 3. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, just
So would yours stand Titanfall?
yeah, Titanfall still stands as my game of the year.
And for the channel, we picked Inside, just the thing you said before. So
yeah, I wouldn't have let Stardew be game of the year. Just I wouldn't have let it happen. I would have probably flipped the table over.
Logan doesn't like fun.
It could have been number 2 for you guys, but I would not have let it be number 1. It would not have happened.
2017, I had Nier, Jason had Cuphead, Logan had Persona, and the channel had Persona. So you won that year.
I did. I won. Hey, there's times I won a year.
Mm-hmm.
In retrospect, that should have absolutely been Persona. I don't know why I put Nier down.
Okay.
Nier has evaporated from my memory, and Persona still sticks there.
Yeah, Nier. I mean, you got me to play Nier. I enjoyed my time with it. It would have cracked my top 10, but like 10 or 9 that year. If I go back and look, but it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
Cuphead stays for me.
Nier is a great game, but it's not Persona.
No.
Cuphead stays.
Mhm.
It stays.
Mhm.
Over Persona.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think I would have put Cuphead higher on my list. I think it was at like 4 that year. I think it should have maybe been higher.
I didn't even put it on my top 10. It should have been.
Higher. Like,
Yeah.
2018, we had Red Dead. Yeah, Caleb and Jason both had Red Dead. I had God of War, and the channel was Red Dead.
I think we're all in agreement that should have been God of War. I think we made a mistake there.
For the channel, I think it's God of War. I still would keep Red Dead, but I'm recognizing that as the channel, it probably should have been God of War.
Yeah, I would change my personal vote to God of War, and that probably would have swayed our
Yeah.
channel vote too.
2019 was a complete disarray of
Yeah.
personal preference. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caleb had Sekiro. Jason, you had MK11. I had Kingdom Hearts 3, and the channel's choice was Death Stranding.
I didn't have either of your Game of the Years on my top 10.
I mean, that's I might have had MK11 like buried somewhere in the bottom 5, I think.
Yeah.
I think both of your games were on mine. I'm pretty sure.
I don't think
Sekiro
Kingdom Hearts
was on your list.
It wasn't.
I don't.
I'll look.
Unless it was a year you didn't play much, but I don't think you had either game. Of
I
our
had
games.
Sekiro on there for
Oh, you
sure.
did?
Mhm.
Okay.
No.
But
yeah.
that was kind of a relatively weak year, if I remember right. So
Yeah, I think it was for whatever
I
reason.
don't think that Sekiro isn't even my favorite like of that genre.
Of the genre.
So I don't feel super strongly about that one, but for that year, I think probably it deserves to be where it is still.
I'm just trying to look and see like what was 2019 here. 2019. Gosh, what did we do in 2019? We did the bad video game gift exchange that year.
Oh yeah,
Forgot about that.
Nice.
Yeah, I was just gonna pull up that, but yeah, I don't even know what my other top games were.
but I
of
think
2019.
Death Stranding is the only game really that year that we all kind of agreed on.
Yeah, I think
so,
that
so that
still-
one probably still stays.
Mm-hmm.
I had Control as my number 2 game that year. That would have
Okay.
been maybe something that would have held a little bit of closeness to it. But yeah, 3 was Death Stranding for me. 4 was Dota Underlords. What the hell game is this? I don't even know. My number 5 game, like I don't even know what this is. Oh, this was the Call of Duty of that year, the Modern Warfare remake,
Oh,
which was very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had Mortal Kombat as 6. That's where I had Mortal Kombat. Untitled Goose Game came out that year. Maybe that's where it should
yeah,
have been.
maybe that should have been higher
Yeah, I know.
actually.
Star Wars Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year we had Caleb, you had Final Fantasy VII. Jason, you had Last of Us Part 2. I had Last of Us Part 2. And for the channel, we had Last of Us Part 2. I mean, I had just mentioned it earlier about changing it, but honestly, as a coin flip on the day of the week, probably if you ask me which one I prefer, and today just happens to be Final Fantasy VII. But if you
Yeah.
ask me next week, I might tell you Last of Us.
I think those are very clearly number 1 and number 2, and for me personally, it's very clear FF7 and Last of Us. But I understand your guys' arguments for Last of Us being better.
Yeah, that was it. That was definitely a year of like how we kind of had a 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
And we talked about that even with 2018 with Red Dead and God of War.
Yeah.
Maybe another year or so, time will tell, and we'll say, oh, maybe it should have been one or the other that we'll change our minds on. But it might depend on how they continue the Final Fantasy VII story about how we look back on the first one. I mean, it could be with whatever they do next. It could be, well, yeah, this one was so much better, so now we're going to look at the original as, or we're going to end up ultimately looking at it as a collective. I have no idea how we'll end up looking at Final Fantasy VII overall, but
Okay.
all right.
So that's overtime.
That was overtime. That was fast. Sometimes overtime takes a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't.
No, this year it didn't.
Um,
Hopefully next year it takes a very long time because it's a very tough decision.
Yeah.
Yeah,
let's hope for that.
If there's a
let's
game
hope for
that's
maybe,
good.
Or maybe,
That
we
good
do
next
start
year.
over from scratch again. Maybe we should look at it at that point and say, let's just start
Oh
over
man,
from scratch.
everybody's top 10. Create a list that way. How will we curate
Like,
that list?
Maybe we curate a list of our own top 10 since the channel existed,
Okay.
of our own personal top 10, and then we start to go from there.
Or
And,
we
like pull like
do it by decade. I don't know.
we've done generation
We'll
before.
talk about it.
Yeah, we'll work on that because this is year 6 of Game of the Year here, so I mean we're kind of getting to the point where there's some years that we've got multiple games from a year in there, and then there's years where we have nothing in there.
Well, it's just going to be tough because in order to get on this list, we would have to knock Inside off. Which
That's true.
Sucks.
I mean, but as of right now, we have nothing from 2019 and nothing from 2021
Yeah.
on this list. That's just a thing for whatever reason, but yet there's 17, 18, and 20 all have multiple things on this list. So
All right.
So we know what years are good, which ones aren't. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, this has been the Master of Unlocking Gaming Extravaganza Overtime. We are going to watch our own individual videos and just enjoy some of that. But you enjoy whatever it is that you're doing. I didn't say that right, but that's fine.
Close enough.
Close enough. Good night, everyone.